I'm back, but I couldn't fix anything. All right. I'm hooked into a MacBook. Isn't this thing right here supposed to be a microphone? So the jack on the back of my pod mic is apparently loose, and that's why that will not connect. But isn't this thing right here supposed to be a microphone? And if it's a microphone, where's my AV squad? Do we have anyone who's AV squad? You can hear me, but it's crappy, right? All right, maybe. All right. You can, all right. I don't know. I went back and listened to the last stream. It sounded crappy. And there's nothing I hate worse than not talking. I have to talk. I can't not talk. All right. When I talk into it closer, I know it's not great. There's nothing else I can do. But there's nothing I hate more than talking. I mean, am I going to go like this the whole time? Sounds like I got my head in a bucket. It's like hell in a bucket is what it is. Ridiculous. I blame StreamYard. Let's see. Let's just testing around. Okay. All right. So this is using the camera microphone. My old mic, the whole thing is it broke. It broke basically. No. Loop it over your left ear. No. It's louder, but it's echoed. Yeah, we can't have echo. Let's see. Let's see if we can get rid of the echo. It's all right. The fan is still spinning, so we're just troubleshooting here. I mean, I got echo cancellation on. Automatically adjust volume. Maybe if I don't automatically adjust it, maybe if I manually adjust it. Thank you, honey. All right, you just put that there. Thank you. Need the AV squad. AV squad. Yeah, that was the microphone that Duty Ron bought me. It's an awesome pod mic, but I guess the I don't know what you call that little piece on the back where you plug the cord into is loose, and that is why it will not connect. Gonna have to do it. All right, here comes the judge.
We're back in session. You may be seated.
All right. Can we have Mr. Higgins, please?
Mr. Higgins, please.
I want to see some fireworks. That's why we're here.
And just a reminder, you are still on road.
All right, Mr. Jackson, whenever you're ready.
Thank you, Your Honor. Mr. Higgins, before we broke for lunch, we were talking about the text exchanges and the communication that you were having with Ms. Reed the days leading up to January 23rd. You recall that?
Yes.
It's fair to say that her text communications with you started to dwindle off in the days before the 23rd, correct?
They lagged.
As a matter of fact, you reached out to her in an effort to try to prompt the conversation to continue, did you not?
I reached out to her, but I wouldn't say that's what it was about.
Well, you texted her stranger, didn't you? Not once, but twice.
I believe so.
Take a look, if you don't mind, at this is a page from what you've just seen.
So he needs the.
I'm sorry. Something that was right in front of you. May I approach?
Please.
How about stranger danger?
Just a second.
Maybe that should just stay with Mr. Higgins.
Thank you. It's easy to find. It's literally the last page. With court permission, may I publish?
Yes.
Does that look like a fair representation of what you're looking at, the last page of that series of texts?
Yes.
And at the very top, could you read what you write in the blue bubbles, starting at the top?
Haha, stranger, stranger.
And then what was the response from Ms. Reed?
Hey, I was at the Hilly all weekend.
And what did you respond at that point?
I have not heard from you.
And by the way, if you look at the next date down, what's the date underneath I have not heard from you?
The 23rd.
So this would have preceded the 23rd, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Then on the 23rd, and by the way, after you texted, I have not heard from you, she did not respond, correct?
She did not respond.
Then on the 23rd, she did respond with phone works, correct?
In the arrows, like both ways.
Right.
Yep.
And then what did you text after that?
I just said, thought you were all set.
And how did she respond?
She said, we're talking? No.
That's all I have for that.
Okay.
Bring the lights back up. So clearly with that last text, her response was, in response to you saying, thought we were all set, she said, with talking, no. Correct?
Yep. Yes.
Did that indicate to you that with flirting, yes, we're all done?
No, I didn't read anything into it.
Okay. But you did read where she said, with talking, no, correct?
Yes.
And then you responded, how?
I said, are you sure?
And did she respond?
No.
As a matter of fact, the next time you saw or communicated with her, she was walking into the Waterfall Bar on the 29th, late night hours of the 28th, went into the early morning of the 29th with her boyfriend, John O'Keefe, correct?
Yes.
Now, you had discussed your flirtations, if I can use that word, that you had with Miss Reed with your friends, at least some of them, correct?
I don't recall that. No.
Do you recall that you openly shared the details of your interest in Miss Reed with your work supervisor at the DOJ?
Well, that was after I shared what happened, that she kissed me. Yes, I did share that with her.
And that was with
That was the first time.
That was with a person by the name of Kate Dowd. Is that right?
That's correct.
And that was before January 29th.
Yes.
And that's because your interest in Karen Reed, whether you call it romantic or sexual or whatever, your interest was something that was at least occupying your mind at that point, correct?
No.
It was occupying your mind enough to share it with your boss.
No, what I shared with my boss was the fact that she kissed me. That was it.
Did you discuss your flirtatious relationship with Karen Reed with Brian Albert at any point?
No.
Never.
No.
So you were on a 4-hour drive in a snowstorm back from New York with Mr. Albert, and your interest in Karen Reed never came up.
No.
Even though he's a good friend.
Yes, just something I wouldn't talk about.
You've been drinking since about what time? What time? That's a bad way to ask it. What time did you start drinking?
When are we at, Mr.?
I'm sorry, on the 28th, when you got back from New York. When did you start drinking?
Well, it wasn't until I swapped out vehicles and I went up to the hillside.
Okay. That would have been, give me a time frame. 9-ish, 8-ish?
It was dark. It was maybe in the area of 8 o'clock.
And what time do you think you got to Waterfall?
I couldn't say. I don't. It was after the hillside.
Before Brian Albert left Hillside, did he tell you that John O'Keefe had been invited over to meet them at the Waterfall?
No.
Was there any particular reason why you changed your mind and left the Hillside to go to the Waterfall?
Well, I think, as I previously testified, that it was because I didn't always take them up on their offer, and I usually did the Irish exit, and I decided because of the weather and everything else, and it had been a long day, that I would go down there and join them.
didn't have anything to do with you knowing that Karen Reed might be at the waterfall.
It couldn't have, because I didn't know she or John O'Keefe would even be there. I didn't know who was going to be there other than Brian's wife.
Do you have any text messages with Brian about going to the waterfall?
I don't recall. He told me about it at the hillside.
And once he got to the waterfall obviously before you did.
He did, I think shortly before, yes.
Any text communications between you and Brian Albert about who was at the waterfall or who was expected to come to the waterfall?
No, not that I recall.
Now, you've already indicated, and I don't think we need to go into a lot of detail about this, but I want to ask you just in general, the mood at the waterfall was good spirits, correct?
It was great. Band was playing.
You did not see any sort of tension between John and Karen?
I did not.
Nobody seemed overly intoxicated?
No.
I mean, you had several drinks before you even got to the waterfall, right?
I think it was 3 to 4.
Did you drink additionally at the waterfall?
I did, yes.
Did you drink whiskey or beer or what?
Whiskey.
Okay. How many do you think you had?
I couldn't put a number on it. At least a couple.
And ultimately, you left from there in your personal vehicle and drove over to, that's the Jeep. Drove
The Jeep,
over to
yes.
the waterfall, correct?
I drove over to the waterfall.
I'm sorry.
I was at the
Left
waterfall.
the waterfall, drove over to 34 Fairview.
I did, yes.
When John walked in to the waterfall, were you already there?
Yes.
He greeted you, you indicated, correct?
Yes, I believe so.
Karen walked in with him,
Yes.
but she did not greet you, did she?
I think they kind of went like that in different directions.
Right.
Yes.
Did she greet you?
No.
Right. So she walked over toward the corner of the bar, and John came over and greeted you, and then walked over and joined her, correct?
Yes.
Karen didn't stop what she was doing once she was over in the corner of the bar and come over and say hi to you.
I didn't have any interaction with her that night, no.
So safe to say that throughout that evening, once she was sidled up next to John O'Keefe or friends that she was with, she never turned back around and came over and even acknowledged you, correct?
That's correct.
So she basically ignored you the entire evening.
That's not how I interpret it, no.
I didn't ask you how you interpreted it. I asked you what she did. Did she ignore you or did she pay attention to you?
Objection.
You can go ahead and answer that. Did she ignore you?
No.
So she paid attention to you. Came over and said hello, shook your hand, gave you a hug.
Well, just because somebody didn't come over doesn't mean they ignored you.
Did she do those three things?
Hug, what was the other
Did she
thing?
say hello, shake your hand, give you a hug?
No, she did not.
Okay, this is his middle school showing. He's like a middle school boy. He doesn't want to admit that he's been ghosted and ignored, but she didn't say hello or give him a hug or say hello or greet him at all. And he's hurt. He's hurt by it, but he doesn't want to admit it. This is so weird.
She didn't do any of those things, did she?
No.
It's like you didn't even exist.
I think that's dramatic. No, I don't look at it that way.
Did she ignore you or not?
No, she did not ignore me.
So what did she do to not ignore you?
She was
What's her interaction with you?
Can I answer now?
Sure.
In my opinion, she was working the room, talking to people, saying hello, catching up.
Right. The one person she didn't come over to talk to and say hello to and catch up with is you.
Well, I don't know that I was the only person, but I was one of the people that she didn't say hello to, yes.
Treated you sort of like a stranger.
I don't feel that way, no.
Feel like a stranger. Feel like a stranger. This is so weird. I have no words for this. I have no words. He's hammered. He's had about 17 Jamesons, but he wasn't hurt, although he texts her, well, you were scorned. Think Higgy was getting upset? Higgy was getting upset.
She actually positioned herself away from you at the other end of the table on the opposite side in the corner. Isn't that right?
I don't know where she was all night, no.
Did
I
that
don't know.
upset you that she ignored you or didn't pay attention to you?
I did not feel ignored and didn't upset me at all.
But it bothered you enough to send her a text, didn't it?
No, it was a flirtatious text. It was just, that was it.
It bothered you enough to send her a text that said, with 6 M's behind it.
Okay.
And well, correct?
Well, it wasn't like that. It was, well, that's it.
Yeah, you just said it was flirtatious. You just admittedly said it was a flirtatious text. Now you're going to roll it back? Now you're going to dial it back?
Just, well, like a well in the ground.
I think you know what I mean.
Yeah, I think you do too, sir. You meant, well, when are you going to pay attention to me?
No, that's not correct.
Well, why are you ignoring me?
It's not correct.
Well, am I chopped liver?
Objection.
All right, that's sustained. Mr. Jackson, let's move on.
Pay attention to me. Pay attention to me. Ryan.
At the end of the night, the group basically discussed going back to Brian Albert's house. Is that right?
There was discussion at the table of like, were we going to go to the pizza shop or were we going to go somewhere else? And ultimately it was 34 Fairview.
Before you left, just so we're clear, when you texted, well, she ignored that text too, didn't she?
Can you say that again?
When you texted her, well, at Waterfall, she ignored that text too, correct?
Well, that was the only text I sent that night to her. Yes.
Okay.
She didn't respond.
That wasn't my question.
What,
My question is she ignored the text, correct?
well, I don't know if I don't know what her mindset was. If she purposely ignored the text or she didn't see it, I don't know. I didn't read into it.
Did she ignore the text, Mr. Higgins?
I don't know.
Did she respond to the text?
She did not respond.
Got it.
Didn't really think about it. Show of hands. Anybody think this guy's an overthinker? This is not normally how I have a microphone, but today this is what we're stuck with because my real one broke. Anybody think this guy's an overthinker? I do. Just saying. Maybe a simp. Anybody know what a simp is?
So when everybody was leaving, did you leave before they did, John and Karen, or did they leave before you did?
I don't know.
You said you were the first one back to Brian Albert's house, correct?
Yes,
Safe to say you were one of the first ones to leave.
I was the first one to leave
Waterfall.
the waterfall. Probably.
I mean, if you're the, if everybody's herding out and you're the first one to get there, you're probably among the first to leave, correct?
Most likely.
Okay. You never personally discussed going to 34 Fairview with, certainly not with Karen Reed, did you?
No.
And you never discussed it with John O'Keefe either, did you?
No.
You didn't say goodbye or walk over and give John a big hug or anything like that? An
No.
acknowledgement, did you?
No.
You just left.
Well, that's what everybody was doing, just leaving.
Okay. You too, correct?
I did leave, yes.
And all you knew that at that point, all you knew was that you were going over to 34 Fairview. You did not know who else was invited over to 34 Fairview.
My impression was that it was an open invitation and I planned on heading over there.
But you did not know who else was coming.
I had no idea who was coming.
And you didn't say goodbye to John, correct?
I don't think I said goodbye to anybody.
And you didn't talk to him about coming over to 34 Fairview.
No.
Yet at 2:20 in the morning, you texted John O'Keefe, you coming here, correct?
At 2:20,
Sorry, 12:20.
I did.
And that had 3 question marks behind it, correct?
Yes.
Did you text Karen about coming over to 34 Fairview?
No.
So at 12:20 a.m., after you left the waterfall and made your way over to 34 Fairview, you were more interested in getting John to come to 34 Fairview than you were to getting Karen to come to 34 Fairview.
No, that's not how I would describe that.
But you didn't text Karen, correct?
No, I didn't.
But you did text John.
Yes.
Okay.
You've indicated that you took your Jeep, your personal vehicle with the plow on it, over to 34 Fairview, correct?
Yes.
And you were among the first to arrive because you were doing that thing with the sort of playing around by plowing his driveway.
It was a sweep of the driveway. Yes.
And then you indicated that you parked in front of the house, correct?
I did.
I know you've been over this before, but I'm going to ask you one final time so that it's completely clear. Exactly where was your Jeep in front of that house?
By the mailbox.
Okay. Can we have, with the court's permission, exhibit 66?
Okay.
This is a graphic representation of 34 Fairview, not a photograph. Just to orient you, do you see what's depicted in exhibit 66?
Yes,
Do you recognize it?
I do.
Shout out to Microdots for making this rendering of 34 Fairview. Follow Microdots on all social.
You see the mailbox, which is about right there.
Yes.
Okay, where was your Jeep in relation to that mailbox?
So the back end of the Jeep, the rear, would have been about around equal with the mailbox, and I was not blocking the driveway.
Okay, so you would have been about there, correct? If the right edge of that highlight is the mailbox being right there, you would have been about right there on the street, correct?
Well, that would have been the front of the Jeep. Where a laser pointer is, it would be the front.
Okay, so the front of the Jeep was facing the flagpole,
Towards Chapman Street, correct.
and the rear of the Jeep was basically even with the mailbox strut or stanchion.
It was definitely past the driveway, yes.
Okay. You indicated the plow was a 6 foot, what inch plow?
I think it was a 6'8", 6
6'8",
foot,
meaning the width.
meaning the width, yes.
How deep is that plow?
How deep? Like,
2 foot, 3 feet, 6 inches?
I mean, it's probably a few inches.
Okay,
It's light duty. It's on a Jeep.
okay. And it's obviously curved and canted
Curved.
to the right?
No, it wasn't canted at all. It was straight down.
Okay, so it's not like I guess I'm picturing in my mind, I don't know that I've ever seen one, that the front of the Jeep is not parallel to the plow. In other words, it would plow stuff off to the right. Is that not right?
I'm not understanding what you're trying to communicate to me.
How is the plow positioned as it relates to the front end of the Jeep? Is it perfectly parallel to the front end, or is it canted one way or another?
So when you're driving straight locally, where you're not going to have to worry about overheating the Jeep, I would just have the plow straight. If I was on the highway for a long distance, I'd be worried about overheating. So I would canter the plow, tilt it up so that air could get through the front grille.
So in other words, you can control it.
I can, yes.
How was it that night?
So
How was it canted that night? Was it straight or canted?
it was straight and straight on.
All right. When you walked into 34 Fairview, you indicated that there were people congregated basically in the kitchen area, correct?
There were some people in the kitchen area, yes.
How many people were at the high top table that you described?
Initially, when I walked in, I believe there was Brian Jr., and he was flanked by one, possibly two females.
And you indicated that basically you were positioned in that area with your back to the door for most of the evening, correct?
I was like I would describe it as diagonally across from him and had my back to the door that I had come in, which would be the breezeway door.
But at some point, you had moved out of that kitchen area with Brian Albert, correct?
Well, I briefly went and looked at some photos.
Right. So you moved out of that area with Brian Albert alone to go to a different room.
Yes, and I think his wife, Nicole, might have popped in the room for a second, but it was brief.
Did you have anything to drink while you were at 34 Fairview?
Well, when I got there, they didn't have any whiskey. I believe they might have put a beer or something else in front of me. And, I knew it was going to be a short night there because I just wasn't going to, I'm not a beer drinker.
He couldn't hang out with his friends because he's not a beer drinker. Do you believe this? They didn't have Jameson for him, so he knew it wasn't going to be a long night. So he's fixing to get out of there and get home to the bottle of J-Mo. Okay? Yeah. Then Karen's like, a bear? This is what he calls beer. Beer here. Yeah, there was White Claw. There was White Claw. He didn't want that either, so he knew it wasn't going to be a long night. I want to know what room he went into to look at these photos.
You've indicated in a prior testimony that you've never been upstairs in Brian's house, correct?
When you say upstairs, like, were you talking like second floor?
Correct.
Yes, no.
Okay. You testified to that in a prior hearing. Is that right?
Yes.
In May of 2023.
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Never been upstairs as in second floor, meaning he's been upstairs from the basement. Anybody catch that? He had to quantify that. Qualify that. Never been upstairs, you mean second floor? Okay, this April 2023 proceeding is going to be the federal grand jury. So listen to what he testified to.
Yes. No.
Okay.
When you say upstairs, like you're talking like second floor?
Correct.
Yes.
What
No.
other upstairs is there?
You testified to that in a prior hearing. Is that right?
Yes.
In May of 2023.
Yes.
And you said specifically, quote, I've never been upstairs. Is that
Yes.
right? All right. You understood when you gave that statement that you were under oath.
Yes.
You were telling the truth.
Yes.
Same oath that you took here today, correct?
Yes.
You indicated that the photos that you saw were on the first floor living room area. Is that right?
I believe that's where they were. Yes.
So the only floor downstairs from the first floor would be what?
The basement.
And the only floor upstairs from the basement would be what?
The first floor.
So if someone were to describe going upstairs to look at the photos that you've described on the first floor, where would they have to be to go upstairs to look at those photos?
Bam.
Are you saying on the first floor?
Correct. If the photos are on the first floor
Yeah.
and someone said, we went upstairs to look at those photos, where would they have to be?
I guess upstairs.
The people would have to be upstairs?
Well, the photos would be upstairs. Is that what you're saying?
Where are the people? Where would the people have to be to go upstairs to the living room to look at the photos?
I'm not understanding the question.
Dude, are you really that dumb? You're with the ATF fugitive unit? You're really that dumb? You don't understand the question? Okay, boom. Playing dumb. Wow. Higgy, you're getting Higgy with it now. Because, yeah, he won't say it. Let's see. He knows exactly what he's getting at. Really? I don't understand what you're saying.
If the photos are on the first floor, Mr. Higgins,
Yes.
the only floor beneath it is the basement,
Okay.
and someone says, we went upstairs to look at the photos, where would they have to be?
Well, who said they went upstairs?
All right,
I'm
so
asking
Mr.
you-
Jackson, you can save this for argument. Next question.
What?
please.
No. What?
If Brian Albert said you went upstairs to look at the photos, where would you have to be?
Objection.
Sustain.
Now, Brian Albert had a weight room someplace in the house, right?
Yes.
And a gym.
I guess he called it a home gym
Where was that?
in the basement.
Had you ever been down to that basement before?
Yes, one time.
That night?
When was that?
That was during the twins' graduation party. Summertime.
Summertime before
Summertime before. Yes.
summer of 2021?
Maybe.
So if Brian Albert testified
Or
that
could
you've
it-
never been in the basement, that would not be accurate.
Objection.
Sustained.
Now, you do recall giving testimony at another proceeding on June 1st, 2023, correct?
Yes.
And of course, the same thing applied. You were under oath. Is that right?
Yes.
You knew that it was a crime to lie under oath
Yes.
in that proceeding. During the course of that proceeding, you were asked who was in the house and who you saw come into the house, correct?
Yes.
And during the course of that testimony, you admitted that you observed a tall, dark-haired male enter the Albert house that night, correct?
I believe that was in reference to ask to somebody's brother in a pickup. I don't know if that was during.
All I'm asking you, Mr. Higgins,
Let's not let him qualify this question. Let's go back and hear that question again. He's asking a very specific question about testimony Higgy gave during the grand jury, the federal grand jury, about someone coming into the house.
you were asked who was in that proceeding. Is that right?
Yes.
I'm
You knew that it was a
rewinding.
crime to lie under oath
Yes.
in that proceeding. During the course of that proceeding, you were asked who was in the house and who you saw come into the house, correct?
Yes.
And during the course of that testimony, you admitted that you observed a tall, dark-haired male entered the Albert house that night, correct?
I believe that was in reference to ask to somebody's brother in a pickup. I don't know if that was during,
All I'm asking you, Mr. Higgins, is did you say that? Did you say a tall, dark-haired male entered the house while you were there?
I said they might have.
Did you say they might have?
Yes. And that was in reference to
Let me have
somebody's
just a moment,
brother.
Your Honor.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure Alan Jackson never asks a question he does not know the answer to. So you know he's got that transcript right there. You know he's got those receipts right there. Nagel never entered the house. Ricky D'Antano never entered the house. Julie Nagel went outside to talk to them. None of them came in the house. So now apparently he testified at the federal grand jury. He saw a tall, dark-haired male enter the house. And now he's saying, oh, maybe I did. And now AJ's going to smooth his butter. Impeach him with his own grand jury testimony.
Isn't it true that you indicated that a male showed up who may have been Julie Nagel's brother, correct?
I said might have, yes.
Right. But there was no question in your mind that a male did in fact show up, and you described him as tall and dark-haired, right?
Yes.
You were asked, a male showed up where? And you answered, quote, showed up at the house that I didn't know. I think he was there very briefly. I was half paying attention to it. Question, did that male come inside the house? Answer, I believe he did. Do you remember that?
Yes.
So a male did come in the house that night, correct?
No, I said I believe he did. I wasn't sure.
Oh,
Well,
somebody got to him.
when you testified,
You think somebody got to him? Because earlier in his testimony, he said that while he was there, nobody came in, right? He was the first one to leave. And now he's walking it back. Somebody get to him or what? He's been MIA for a long time, people have said. Not in town.
at the prior hearing, you were asked, so you saw someone else come? Question. Answer, somebody else. Yes. End quote. That's what you testified to under oath, wasn't it?
Is that in reference to that?
What page are you on, Mr. Jackson?
Page 485, 486, I believe.
Ruh-roh.
Yes. If I may approach.
Yes.
Thank you.
Look at the top part that's been highlighted.
Somebody tell Siha what I mean, please. Didn't he pull out some readers before earlier? And now he doesn't need his readers to read it? Okay. I know he had glasses on earlier today. We've only had one witness tonight, and it's only been him. Yep, question with a question always.
Mr. Higgins, do you have that in mind?
I do.
May I approach?
Yes.
You were asked the question, quote, did that male come inside the house? You answered, I believe he did. Question, so you saw someone else come? Answer, somebody else. Yes, correct?
Yes, but I also said that I wasn't paying attention.
I realize that you want to explain your answer. I've asked you a very simple question. Was that your testimony in front of another proceeding?
Yes, it was.
At another proceeding, which you were under oath?
Yes, it was.
Okay. You also said that you only remember seeing that person come in briefly. And it looked like he was having a conversation with the two girls briefly, correct?
Yes.
You were asked how long was the person in there roughly, and you said it was quick. Less than a couple of minutes. I mean, it was quick, correct?
Yes.
And then you were asked what he looked like, and you said, I feel like they were a little bit taller. They had dark hair, correct?
Yes.
So you testified that a tall, dark-haired male came into the house at least briefly in your testimony, correct?
Yes.
Approximately when in the timeline of events did that unidentified male enter the residence?
I don't know the time frame. It would have been while I was there.
When you gave your statement to the Massachusetts State Police, you didn't tell them about a tall, dark-haired male coming into the residence at 34 Fairview, did you, on February 3rd?
I don't recall.
You were specifically asked by ADA Lally when you testified before the state court grand jury on April 28th, 2022, who else was present, correct?
Yes.
And you never mentioned a tall, dark-haired male coming into the house, did you?
No.
However, on June 1st, 2023, at this other proceeding, you were specifically instructed at the start of your testimony that it was a crime to give materially false statements in that proceeding, correct?
Yes.
And that's the proceeding in which you admitted that there was a tall, dark-haired male who came in the house. Yes or no? Yes or no? It was that proceeding.
Can you answer that, yes or no?
No, I can't, Your Honor.
Stop
Next
helping
question, Mr.
the witness,
Jackson.
Judge.
The quotations or the quotes that I just read you and that you just looked at,
Yes.
that was from the June 1, 2023 hearing, wasn't it?
I don't know.
May I approach that? Yes. That's what was just read, and that's another page. Just take a look at that page and see if you see a date on it, the first page.
I see it, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
What's the date, sir?
June 1st?
What year?
2023?
Yes.
How long did you stay at the Albert residence in total? From the time you got there till the time you left?
Maybe like a half hour, less than an hour.
And what time did you leave? Say 12:30, you said?
I think I said between 12:30 and 1
Okay.
a.m.
And you indicated that you pretty much didn't say goodbye to anybody, right?
At the house,
Correct.
I just kind of left. I said, see you later. Turn around, left.
As a matter of fact, at that same hearing that we just looked at, your statement was, I made a beeline out of there, correct?
I don't know if that's the verbiage I used, but I left
Why the rush? Why did you leave so quick?
because it was a long day and I just wanted to go home.
Because they didn't have
Except you didn't go
Jameson.
home, did you?
No, I went back to Canton PD.
Right. So it wasn't such a long day that you actually drove home. You went back to the Canton Police Department at 1 or 1:30 in the morning, correct?
To move vehicles, correct.
Well, let's talk about you leaving. You walked out the side breezeway door, correct?
Yes,
You walked down the driveway.
yes.
There's nothing obstructing your view at that point of the lawn to your right, correct?
I didn't look over there, but I would not think so.
Between you and the flagpole, in other words, there wasn't some mound of dirt, something obstructing your view. You could see straight across if you wanted to, correct?
If I wanted to, yes.
It's just basically a flat, grassy lawn with a light dusting of white powder snow on it, right?
I don't know how much snow was, but there was snow there.
Yeah, you indicated that it wasn't even enough to stick to the pavement at that point.
Well, that's when I got there. Yes,
Well, you only stayed less than an hour, right?
that's correct.
So I'm assuming it didn't dump 3 feet in an hour, correct?
I think we can both agree that it's not free. It wouldn't have been 3 feet now.
Right. So it would have been a light dusting of snow.
More snow than there was there.
how far would you say it was from the edge of the driveway over to your Jeep?
From where the back of my Jeep was parked,
Correct.
maybe a foot or two, or it could have been even with the edge of the driveway.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. It's probably a bad question on my part. When you left the house, as you started to walk down the driveway toward your Jeep, how long of a walk is that? Across the yard to down the driveway to get to your Jeep?
Short,
30 feet?
maybe.
Okay. During
That
the
was a
course of
weird
you
noise.
walking out the door, heading to your Jeep, you didn't see anything out of the ordinary in the yard, correct?
No,
You certainly didn't see a body in the yard.
of course not.
Now, you get in your car and it's facing directly toward the flagpole, correct?
It's facing directly up the street. The flagpole would be off to the 1 o'clock.
Right. So just a few degrees off to the right, the flagpole is, correct?
It's off to the right.
Just a few degrees.
I don't know how many degrees, but it's off to the right.
Well, you just said 1 o'clock. You're a
Yes.
former military guy, right?
I am.
Okay. 1 o'clock means 1 o'clock on a watch. 12 o'clock is due north or right in front of you. 1 o'clock is just a few degrees to the right, correct? That's what you meant.
At the 1 o'clock, yes.
Okay. So you didn't see a body when you got in your Jeep.
No, I did not.
Then you turned the engine on, correct?
And the wipers, yes.
And the lights.
Yes.
And the lights lit up everything in front of you, correct?
Yes.
Still didn't see a body, did you?
No, I did not.
Sitting in the driver's seat, you put the car in gear and you begin to roll forward, right?
Yes.
But there was a plow on the ground that scraped for a foot, right?
Yes.
So you picked it back up,
Yes.
looked out the windshield to make sure the plow was situated, and continued to roll forward, correct?
I knew it was up when I continued to drive.
And as you continue to drive, you're looking ahead of you and probably to your left to make sure that there's no oncoming cars, right?
Well, I knew there was no oncoming cars. I was just driving forward.
Right. So your focus is directly in front of you.
On the road, yes.
And everything in your peripheral vision is right in front of you as well, correct?
Yes.
Nothing obstructing your view.
I mean, other than snow on the car.
Nothing obstructing your view outside toward the lawn. Wasn't another car parked there.
No, I didn't. There was no vehicles in front of me, no.
It was the roadway was relatively empty.
There was no cars.
And you didn't see a body then either, did you?
I did not.
And as you drive past that flagpole with everything lit up and everything in your peripheral vision, you still didn't see a body on that lawn, did you?
I did not.
You're a former firefighter, is that right?
Yes.
Did that put you in a position of being a first responder?
Yes.
And you're currently a law enforcement officer.
Yes.
That puts you in the position of being a first responder, correct?
I'm also a tactical medic, yes.
Which means that you have training to be an observer. You're a trained observer, more than the average person, correct?
Yes.
You look for things out of the ordinary. You look for things that don't belong. As an investigator, and former firefighter, first responder, correct?
Yes.
And you did not see a 217-pound man bleeding out on the side of the road, in the lawn, or in the yard, just to your right by that flagpole, correct?
If I did,
I didn't
I
ask
would
you
have
if
done
you
something
did.
to help him.
I asked you if you saw one.
No, I did not.
And that's because there was no body there, correct?
I didn't see anything.
Because if there was a body there, you certainly would have seen that.
Objection.
Where exactly did you go when you left 34 Fairview?
I went back to the Canton Police Station.
When you were asked that on direct examination, you said you weren't sure where you went when you left 34 Fairview.
That's right.
Either home or to Canton PD.
No, that's not what I testified to.
It absolutely is. I absolutely remember. Hello, am I insane? He said he didn't remember if he went home or if he went to the Canton PD, right? He did say that, I thought.
Did something jog your memory
That
about
is-
where you went?
That is not what I testified to. That was in relation to where did I go after I left 34 Fairview the next morning.
Oh, okay. Good. So he's adamant, right? Because Sergeant Goody saw him come in. Goody saw him come in that night, but Goody said it was around 1:30 a.m., right? And I guess we're going to have some information on his card swiping of getting in there, of what time it was. I can feel it coming in the air tonight. Oh, Lord. Shay for the win.
Why did you go to Canton Police Department that morning?
What's the question?
Why did
Line
you go to
time?
the Canton Police Department that morning?
The morning when I left 34th Fairview, the Friday into Saturday,
Correct.
to move 2 vehicles.
There's been quite an evolution of that story over the years, has there not?
I don't understand the question.
All right, let's talk about that for a second. You had an initial interview with Massachusetts State Police on February 3rd, 2022,
Yes.
correct? And you indicated during the course of that interview, which was just a couple of days, 5 days after the events in question, that you left Brian Albert's house, went to Canton PD to, quote, fulfill some administrative obligations, end quote, correct? You later said, when you testified in front of the grand jury on April 28th, that you went to Canton PD to do, quote, administrative work, correct?
Yes.
You never mentioned,
I said administrative things.
you said administrative work was your testimony in your transcript.
I believe it was things, but okay.
Okay. Can we agree, Mr. Higgins, that you didn't mention anything about moving cars around, correct?
Well, that would be administrative.
So when you say I went to Canton PD to do administrative work or administrative obligations, you meant moving your car, your personal vehicle?
Yes.
Okay. Although you didn't say that you were going there to move your personal vehicle, right?
No, I said I didn't move my personal vehicle. I moved work vehicles.
Or either one. You just traded off vehicles, moved them out of the way, right?
I moved the purpose for going back there was to move 2 work vehicles.
And the reality is you had gotten Canton PD earlier in the afternoon and actually moved some other vehicles, traded vehicles, didn't you?
I swapped vehicles out. That's correct.
Right. And you left the vehicles that you now claim you had to go move exactly where they were, even though you knew a blizzard was coming, correct?
That is correct. Yes.
So you didn't move the cars a few hours earlier, knowing that you just have to come back and move those cars a few hours later,
I was
right?
more concerned to go eat and have a drink because it had been a long day.
So wouldn't you want to move those cars early on so you wouldn't have to go all the way back to Canton and play, parking lot with these cars in the middle of the night?
Not really.
Really?
Mr. Higgins, you weren't actually at Canton PD to do administrative work at 1:30 in the morning, were you?
I was moving the vehicles. I'm sure it's on video.
Oh.
And we'll talk about the video in just a second.
Oh. It's getting spicy. He just said his priorities to eat and drink. You're right.
You entered the Canton Police Station through which door?
I believe it was the door to the right of the Sally Port as you come in the main entrance.
And you made note of who was on duty that night, correct?
I didn't make note. I walked by, I saw somebody sitting in the control room and then just went about my business.
So you immediately knew that your friend, Officer Good, was working dispatch, right?
So do you need to hear something or
What?
it's really hot over there? So why don't we take a 5-minute recess?
We need to-
All right. Put a video.
Okay. Do you remember that time during pretrial hearings when the judge looked at the court reporter and she said, "Madam Court Reporter, you need a break, don't you? Don't you need a break? It's warm in here." And then she took a break for the court. Oh, somebody said a juror looked fainty. Okay, yeah. It's 86 degrees here in New York. I don't know what your weather is up in Dedham today, but the air conditioning was just installed. Who knows if it's even working? God knows how hot it is. Look at how many people are stuffed into that little tiny courtroom. And also, they just got Wi-Fi about 3 weeks ago, right before this trial started. That's how ancient this courtroom is. It is the courtroom where Sacco and Vanzetti were tried in 1920, which was another trial that had a lot of protesters outside, interestingly enough. So they're taking a break right now because they don't want somebody to pass out from heat stroke. And really, like, if I was a juror on this trial, like I don't like heat either, especially humidity. I'd be not wanting to serve if they didn't get some air conditioning in their toot suite, or at least some fans other than this one that gives us all nausea. For the comfort of the jury. I'll take that down for a minute. It's super annoying. But I've got it up over there so we can come back to it. I'm just a girl in the world. Thanks for coming in with a super chat. The only thing Karen's guilty of is hurting Higgins' feelings. That's what it seems like. Thanks, Shari, for your thanks. Things happen. You sound fine. Thank you. Thanks for the 5. Life per Mary, thanks for the 10. None of these facts make Karen a murderer. I don't know how I feel about Higgins' testimony, but to deny that Karen was childish games is also not fair. We may not like her choice, but she made them. 100%. 100%. If we can, I mean, I don't think she's denying making those text messages. I don't think their authenticity is at issue here. But the kids are going to come in and testify. We're not going to be able to watch it that day. There's going to be no cameras in the courtroom that day. And the kids are going to come in and testify. I think the kids are going to testify about some arguments that were going on prior to the 29th, wherein John might have wanted her to move out or leave. It makes me sad that they got to drag the kids into this, but I guess that's what they're doing. Right, maybe the jury reacted to all the information, says Lise. Yeah, I agree. It's 83 in Boston. They have AC, but it's probably stuffy and warm. Probably is. Thank you, Shari, so much for your super sticker. I think we have some more questions over here. Oh, thank you, Michelle, for your Venmo. Says your coverage is invaluable and we think alike. Medical records could be dog bite from that night. I don't know, Michelle. I don't know. I guess who knows if they're even going to come into evidence. We're going to have to see. Justin, thank you very much for the Cash App. You're all very kind. Trees, thank you for buying 5 coffees or matcha lattes, as I like better than coffee. Thank you, Melanie. The song references get me through. It's how my mind works too. I don't know, is there like a word for that disorder? I don't think it's a disorder. I kind of like it, thinking in song lyrics, but there are a lot of other people that do it too. Thank you, Lori, for the Venmo. Says, love your coverage. Thank you. Thanks, Lori. Thank you, Laura. Laura for the Venmo says, thank you for all your hard work and dedication to truth and justice. And of course, for keeping us entertained for hours throughout this case. Thank you, Laura Liz, for that. You are so very kind. And Kevin, thank you for the Cash App. Will the proffer limit his testimony? At this point, I don't know what to think. I don't know what this proffer was about. We're learning new information that he testified at the federal grand jury that he saw a tall man with dark hair walk into the house. That's new information. He's trying to walk it back, which is making me think that maybe somebody got to him, threatened him, doesn't want him to testify. I don't know. It's just a vibe. The vibes are off. It's a vibe that I'm getting. What a vibe are you guys getting? Bo Pete says, I think he saw Colin come into the house. A lot of conflicting, testimony too about what time Colin left, who saw him. Celine is like, don't you dare faint, juror person. This poor jury. They are taking notes like crazy from what I hear. And Kathleen says, this is ridiculous. Nothing going to come out of Higgins. I don't know. I think we were expecting something a little more explosive. But, it's only 2:45. She said she wants to go till 4:30 today. Hopefully this juror doesn't have a medical issue and they have to bring him back on Tuesday, because next week, the only day of court next week is Tuesday. It's, they're off Monday and then they had scheduled days off for Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. So yeah, let's all hit the like button Nikki loves relating your language with song lyrics shows cognitive sharpness. I'll take it. I'll take it. I'll take it, Nikki loves. I guess that you think the same way. Haas, not to forget to click the like button. Don't worry, the court's on a break right now. The fan is up. It's nauseating as always. There's a juror with an issue, and it's hot in there. It's getting hot in there. AJ Pavone says, I think Higgins was there when John got dropped off inside. There was an argument, a fight. The dog got involved. John must have fell down, hit his head. They drug him out by the flagpole and left him. AJ, we were talking about this the other day. I don't know if you were there, but when Brian Albert testified, they showed some video footage of that bulkhead and the bulkhead doors. The defense had their own videographer go there, apparently after it was sold. And specific attention was paid to the doorknob at the bottom door. The bulkhead doors open like this. And I don't know, I went back and watched that video. It was a little bit haunting. And the steps are concrete. And it looked to me like the steps were stained. I don't know, could they have found maybe blood or something on those steps? I don't know. But if you go back and watch Brian Albert's testimony, you can see that video too. And it was a little bit haunting. Kathleen's vibe is no proffer. I don't know. We were told there was a proffer. We just don't know what it was about. Mystery Singer has a theory. Brian and Colin Albert and Higgins brought John to the basement. John reported Colin Albert for dealing drugs, which led to his arrest. Motive, Jen McCabe Googled how long to die in cold. Again, the opinions of my viewers are not necessarily my opinions at 2:27 a.m. and 6. Don Canine says it's the Herman's head of music. Completely normal. All right. We are all completely normal around here then. Thank you, On Top, for the super sticker. Thank you to Annie Banani for gifting a membership. You're so generous. And also M.E. Lennon, thank you for the super sticker. I mean, I can hear some movement in the courtroom, but they're still showing that nauseating fan. Members have some fun emojis in the chat that we made especially for this trial. We've got a puffy jacket. We've got a solo cup. We've got a leaf blower. We got some Twilight Zone emojis in there. We are outraged. It was one of my favorites. I'm going to put that in there for you right now. What is a proffer? A proffer is a deal that you make with the feds. Sort of, you agree. It's an agreement. You agree to give them information in exchange for leniency, sometimes immunity. So he did something with the feds. He made a proffer. He's on desk duty. We know that. So, yep, we have we have word salad in there. We've got nope. We've got a sigh emoji for when the judge does all of that sighing all the time, or mostly Lally, actually. It's mostly Lally always sighing into the mic. It's so annoying. We've got some Grateful Dead emojis too, which are fun. There's a Steely. Because I'm a deadhead. See? And Dave Matthews is also my jam. In case you haven't heard, there's a rumor out there that I went to Dave Matthews in Cancun with Alan Jackson. He was even asked about it. It's ridiculous. It's not true at all, but it's like a game of telephone. If he made a proffer and is on desk duty, then why is this trial still on? We don't know. Maybe he heard something, right? Maybe he heard something. Maybe somebody told him something. Maybe there was a confession. Whatever it is, seems like he's kind of walking it back. That's the vibe I'm getting. What do you think? Nikki loves, I believe there was a fight and a bunch of hothead jocks without self-control or accountability couldn't keep out because John was getting the better of them. Higgins probably had injury he hid. But he did come over the next morning. In fact, he says, oh, that's cool. Wait, hold on, Modest Man. Dave Matthews, yes, please. I have a fire dancer in the emojis too. I'll put that in there for you. Kind of hard to see, but tell me if you could see it. There you go. If John was outside for hours, would he still be bleeding? Karen would not have been at that location within that timeline. Everything is very, very Everybody's all over the place with their testimony. That's the risk that you run. Ryan, what's my thoughts on Higgins bringing his lawyer today? Smart move. Smart move. I'm surprised his lawyer's not in the courtroom. He should be. He should be sitting in the courtroom. No, I don't have the Davy earrings on today. Just gold like kind of hoops. I think it was a smart move. I don't know why the lawyer's not in the courtroom. He should be sitting right there. I don't know. Nothing makes sense in this case. I'm still waiting for the evidence that Karen Reed hit John O'Keefe with her car. I'm still waiting for it. Intolerant. Higgins' Jeep was gone when Ryan Nagel pulled up behind Karen. Timing for everyone is way off. Way off. Yes, thank you. Anyone think Karen hit him with her car? Anyone? Put a wave in the chat for Nikki Loves. If anybody out there thinks it, let us know because I haven't seen any evidence. Hi, Mozzie. Thanks for the super chat. How do we know someone hasn't gotten to the jurors, hence the heat spell? I don't trust anyone in that courthouse. We don't know. We don't know. John Shaw, hater, the bigger hoops, the bigger the heart. Thank you. Thanks, Carla. Super cute earrings. Oh, I don't know. I think maybe they're back. Peace and Christ says, I think the proffer is a nothing. That was the formal interview I think Jackson was asking about early in Cross. That was a week before his federal grand jury. Wonder if he walked back some statement then. Usually a proffer is, an offer. I just heard Jim say, I remember in the old days, you'd have to turn the AC on and then turn the ACs off when people left the room. It is. It must be hot as hell in there. Max Bang. So glad I found you. Oh, so glad you found me too. Another chat for a while and it was toxic. I appreciate your commentary. Thank you. Oh, thanks, Max. My mods are the best on YouTube. They really are. We don't tolerate bullying, trash talk, attacks. I don't know which chat you're in, but I can probably guess. And it's kind of like a free-for-all out there and is very, very frightening. In my own personal opinion, we've created a safe space here. Well, you can't hear the hot mic because I decided to take the screen off, but if you want to hear it, put it back.
Maybe downstairs. So they might not be.
Kind of whispering.
I'll need 4-minute advance notice before you meet me.
Beth McLaughlin is so nice. She's the nicest person, Beth McLaughlin.
Beth McLaughlin is the nicest person.
Beth McLaughlin. Oh my God. So good.
Hot mic. Who's Beth McLaughlin? And first of all, I call it, I'm Irish, I'm half Irish. McLaughlin. Why is it, when did it turn into McLaughlin? Fairy Raven?
You are unmuted.
Any of my Irish friends, is it McLaughlin or McLaughlin? If anybody finds out who Beth McLaughlin is, let us know. Is she related to Katie McLaughlin, the EMT, or is she related to the ADA who's in the room? What's her name? What's her first name? I can't remember her first name. We're listening to the hot mic. Bev's waiting for the jury.
Court is back in session. Please be seated.
Oh, the victim advocate?
Thank you. Right, let's bring Mr. Higgins back. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
All right, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you. Mr. Higgins, if you went back to Canton PD at 1 o'clock, 1:30 in the morning, you would certainly be in a position to monitor anything that was happening at Canton PD at the time that at least you were there, correct?
No.
I mean, you would be inside the building, correct?
Yes.
With access to dispatch and anything else that was happening around that floor, that area, correct?
I did not go into dispatch.
You would have access to the interior of the police station at that time if you went back to Canton PD at 1:30 in the morning, correct?
I'd have access.
You could see if there was any activity going on, any calls, call outs, things of that nature.
I didn't have access to that and I wasn't looking for it.
Not that you were looking for it, Mr. Higgins. My question is more simple than that. If you were there, you'd know what was going on inside the building.
No,
So if you walked in, you would just be completely oblivious to anything that was happening. For instance, if troopers started amassing to go out to a call, you wouldn't see that.
Objection.
The objection sustained. Ask it differently.
You were able to monitor, you'd be in a position to monitor what was happening at the station around 1:30 in the morning when you were over there, correct?
no.
So
Ask him if he'd be able to suss it out, because he likes to use those words, suss it out.
how long did it take you to get home from Canton PD?
A little longer from after I moved the vehicles.
Correct.
I don't know. I mean, it could have been 15 minutes. It could have been 20 minutes.
You live alone?
I do.
You did then?
Yes.
What did you do when you got home?
I think I had something to eat, maybe a couple more drinks.
Couple more drinks.
Then you went to bed?
Was either on the couch or in the bed watching the news.
In any of the prior testimony that you've given in this case, have you ever indicated, ever, that you slept on the couch that night?
I don't know.
Well, you reviewed your testimony before you
Well,
testified.
those would be the two options.
Okay. I didn't ask you about your options. I asked you if you reviewed your testimony before you testified today.
Yes.
Okay. When you reviewed your testimony previous to coming in here today, did you ever testify that you slept on the couch that night?
No, I slept in my bed, but I could have started somewhere else.
Did you ever testify in the previous hearing that you started somewhere else?
Not that I know.
Did you ever mention a couch in any of your description about what you did when you went home that night?
Not that I recall.
As a matter of fact, what you did mention under questioning in a different hearing was that you may have gotten something to eat, you then went to bed, put your stuff on the nightstand next to your bed, correct?
That would be the routine, yes.
You did not make or receive any calls after returning home that night.
No.
You were clear when you went to sleep in your prior testimony that you put both your work and your personal phone. You had two at the time, correct?
Yes.
A personal and a work cell phone, right?
Yes.
You put them both on your bedside table because that's what you do every night. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
As a matter of fact, you were asked whether or not you have a charging station, and you said, yeah, it's right on my bedside.
I don't know that I don't have a charging station.
Right, you said no, bedside. In other words, you keep your phone by your bedside, on your bedside table.
Usually.
You also testified that you did not use your phone that night to go on social media, correct?
That's correct.
You indicated that you don't go on, you didn't go on social media because you don't have social media. You don't use it that much.
I don't.
You said, I don't have the gram. I'm guessing that means Instagram, correct?
That is correct.
The
You don't
gram.
use Snapchat and you quote, don't do those things, correct?
That's correct.
All right, so you testified that the first call you received after returning home on the 29th was a call from Chief Berkowitz just before 7 a.m., which woke you up. Is that right?
It was around 6:30-ish, I think.
Okay. Your testimony previously was at some point before 7 a.m., that call was the one that woke you up.
Yes.
And it turns out, Mr. Higgins, that was a lie, wasn't it?
No, it wasn't a lie.
When you were asked that question at a previous hearing, you didn't know that the person questioning you had your phone records, did you?
I assume they did.
And you were thereafter confronted with those phone records, correct?
I was asked about them, yes.
And those phone records established that you and Brian Albert actually exchanged not one, but two phone calls at 2:22 a.m. that morning at a time when you claimed You were in bed asleep, correct?
I have no recollection of any phone calls.
Could it have been the Jamesons?
Yes.
Maybe the Jamesons caused the memory loss. Maybe. I mean, I'm just saying.
May I approach?
Yes.
Thank you. Take a look at those two documents and tell me if you recognize at least the top one.
Do they have a page number for me to follow or no?
I was just asking Ms. Little, I don't think we've introduced them, and no, they don't have a page number, but I'm going to ask that they be marked for identification at least at this point. Do you
Beauty
recognize
on.
those?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
These are, you know what, I'm gonna, if it's okay with the court, maybe witness maintain those documents?
Sure.
I'd like to have those two documents marked only for identification with the court's permission.
Okay. As one exhibit?
We can do it as one exhibit, that's fine.
Okay. Could you please?
You know, when I drink alone, I prefer to be by myself.
Sorry, what was it?
Thank you.
May I inquire?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins, you see the document on the lower right, it has a page number or there's a numeric indicator 01770, in other words, 1770
On the lower right-hand corner,
in the right, in the red.
it says 01771.
Look at the next page.
He does have readers. Remember when he looked at the testimony earlier, he didn't pull out his readers. He just looked like he was reading it. Somebody said people take glasses off for distance sometimes, but I mean, people need glasses for distance and not reading. And I know because that's me. But he just put his readers on to read that.
I think they're just out of order. Oh, this has been marked over. Oh, this has been marked over.
Very confused.
Sorry, over the top. That's the protocol. It's okay, it's okay. I'll use the one with QQ and the one with 1771 because the other numbers.
When you're referencing them. When you're referencing them?
When I'm referencing them.
Okay.
Take a look at the one that's marked with the QQ.
I see it.
You've seen that document before, correct?
I think I've seen it maybe on a screen, not in my hand.
That was these were the records that were shown to you at a prior hearing.
Yes.
And you acknowledge that at least the one marked QQ is a record of your calls, correct?
It has my name, my telephone number, correct?
And it indicates that on January 29th, 2022, at 2:22 and 35 seconds, you received a call from Brian Albert, duration of 1 second, correct?
Yes.
In other words, Brian Albert called you at 2:22 and 35 seconds, but it looks like you missed the call, correct?
I see the 1 second call, yes.
There's a second call just below that. On the same date at 2:22 and 52 seconds from you to Brian Albert. Do you see that one?
Yes.
And the duration of that call is 22 seconds, correct?
I see that, yes.
So 17 seconds after you missed a call, according to these records, from Brian Albert, you called him back, and there was a call lasting 22 seconds. Is that right?
That's what the records say.
May I approach?
Yes.
Just to point out that the Haas Long to Die in Cold search by Jen McCabe was made at 2:27 a.m. These calls were made around 2:22 a.m. And it was a 22-second phone call. He may have been blackout drunk. He knew this was coming. Why does he look surprised?
So the fact is, you were speaking to Brian Albert in the middle of the night, approximately 3 hours before Mr. O'Keefe's body was found in his yard, correct?
No, that's not correct.
And that was 5 minutes before 2:27 a.m. when there was a Google search for how long to die in cold, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Deny till you die, Higgy.
And then, of course, you lied about that under oath in that prior proceeding by saying, I don't remember this phone call.
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you, in fact, tell the truth at the prior proceeding when you said, I don't remember that phone call?
I always tell the truth.
Did you lie under oath, sir?
No, I did not.
Would you tell us if you did?
Objection, Your Honor.
Sustained.
You acknowledge
Something funny, sir? I always tell the truth. Except when I'm blackout drunk and I really don't remember what happened. I'm telling you the truth that I don't remember, but he says absolutely not. I did not speak to him. If I would have a little more respect for him if he said, listen, I had 75 Jamesons. I have no idea what happened. I probably did talk to him, but I don't have any memory of it. That would make a little more sense to me than absolutely flat out denying that it ever happened. As Lally said during pretrial motions, phones don't lie. The truth is in the phone. Except for when Lally doesn't want the truth to be in the phone, like the 227 Haas long to die in cold search. You tell me.
that there's a 22-second phone call in your phone records, correct?
That's what's reflected by the record.
And 22 seconds is quite an amount of time. Would you agree?
It's 22 seconds.
As a matter of fact, it's about this long, with the court's permission.
The court does not give permission.
Let's do a
That's
demo.
argument, Mr.
Oh,
Jackson.
why
If
not?
we were to count off 22 seconds, that's an uncomfortably long time, is it not?
No,
It's long enough to have a conversation, isn't it?
I didn't have a conversation.
Is 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
No.
A human being can't have a conversation in 22 seconds?
Sure they could. I don't think it's anything of substance.
Okay, so that's my question. Is it 22 seconds long enough to have a conversation?
I don't agree with it. No.
Yeah. Okay. Let's watch the grab ass
Now,
video for fun.
When you were asked about this and you were shown these records, that prior hearing, you had an explanation for what that 22-second call may have been and what the prior call may have been, correct?
Yes.
What was your explanation?
Well, I used a phrase that people commonly used as a butt dial.
So you think it's possible that you may have butt dialed Brian Albert for a 22-second call that you're not aware of?
I think it's possible that he could have been inadvertently called back, but I have no recollection of that, nor did I have any conversation with anybody.
But you admitted that you lived alone, correct, Mr. Higgins?
That's correct.
You have an iPhone at the time.
Yes.
Matter of fact, that number for reflecting those records is in fact, or was in fact, an iPhone. Is that right?
Yes.
You already indicated under oath that you don't sleep with your iPhone. You keep it on your bedside table. Is that right?
Most often, yes.
There's nobody else in your room. Is that right?
That's correct.
And you had your ringer on because you were awakened the next morning by a call from Chief Berkowitz, right?
Yes, the ringer was on.
When somebody calls you and you miss the call, there's a notification that shows up on that iPhone. Isn't that right?
I don't know how mine's set up at the time. I don't know.
If you open up your phone app and you go to recents, it shows all the missed calls, correct?
I think you can get to them, yes.
And you know that the iPhone does not automatically call people back. That is not a thing, right? You miss a call from someone, it's not just going to automatically re-ring them.
Yes, I think we both know that, yes.
So to call somebody back, you have to go on your iPhone, open it up from a locked position,
You did.
navigate to a phone application, then navigate to a contact, and then make a call, correct?
Objection.
Sustained. You can break it down.
Sure. In order to call somebody back, if you've missed a call, you first have to unlock your iPhone.
You would have to, yes.
You can do that either through Face ID or through a 4 or 6 digit passcode, right?
Yes.
Don't tell me the code, but did you have a 4 or a 6 digit passcode locking your iPhone at the time?
I don't know if it was a digit code or Face ID.
Well, if you have a Face ID, you have to have a digit code as well, right?
I guess so.
Okay. Did you open your phone with your Face ID or a multi-digit code?
I have no recollection of answering the phone or calling anybody back.
You also have to navigate, once the phone is unlocked, you have to navigate to the phone app, correct?
I don't know necessarily if you unlocked it with your face, if it would be right there. I've never thought about it.
No, it wouldn't.
Once you unlock that phone app, you have to manipulate the phone on the screen with your finger in order to make a call, correct?
You would have to hit at least one button, I guess.
At least one, right?
Yes.
So that's 3
John's
or
nodding.
4 interactions with the phone that have to be physically undertaken to just make one call, right?
But I didn't make any calls.
So how'd you butt dial?
I didn't make any calls. I have no recollection of any calls, nor did I speak with anybody.
Sir, would you admit that you possibly have a drinking problem? Because it's the first step is admitting it. And really, that would be an easy thing to admit here because we've all heard you testify to the fact that you couldn't even stay at a party because they only had beers and no Jameson. That explanation would sit much better with me. He went to the Jen McCabe School of Witness study, I guess, how to not answer questions on the stand, how to twist everything around and answer something that you want to answer, even though it has nothing to do with the question you were just asked. Ay, ay, ay.
After you were shown these phone records at that prior hearing, in that hearing at least, you finally admitted that you did in fact call Brian Albert back, but this time you claimed the two of you just sort of sat in silence. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I'm going to sustain it in that form. You can ask it.
They sat in silence on the phone back to teenage years, remember? You hang up first. No, 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 I want to listen to you breathe. I want to hear you sleeping. Okay, let's sleep while we're on the phone. Really? Weird.
Appropriately, Mr. Jackson.
Did you ever previously testify that you did in fact make the call, but you did not have a conversation during the course of the call?
What I think I testified was something must have happened, but I didn't have any phone call.
Do you remember being asked, quote, did you call him back, end quote, and you answered yes? And then there was a question.
There was a series of questions there. That's only a fragment of what I said.
I'm not done yet, Mr. Higgins. Can you answer my question?
Yes.
To the question, did you call him back? Your answer was yes, correct?
I think it was kind of, I must have.
Then you were asked, well, the answer was yes. And then there was a colloquy back and forth where you spoke over each other's words, right?
It was dialogue back and forth about this whole thing, yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
I wanted to know that too. Court asked, what news is on at 2 a.m.?
Highlighted answer.
Yes.
What's the question? Please read it for me.
Did you call him back?
What's the answer?
Yes.
Thank you. May I approach?
Yes.
That was like pulling teeth.
You then said a little bit further in that same conversation, I did not have a conversation, correct?
I did not have a conversation with anybody.
And the question following that was, you just listened to the phone, what someone was telling you? Answer, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything. And then I terminated the call, end quote. That's what you said at the other hearing under oath, correct? Yes or no?
Can I see it?
Oh, Jen McCabe School of Testifying. Can I see it? Jen McCabe wanted to see everything. Yep, being another Jen. Wonder if they had a friends and fam meeting about testifying. Welcome, Donna.
Ma'am?
Yes.
Mr. Lowen, same page.
Thank you.
The bottom portion in pink. If you could read that answer to yourself, please. You have that in mind, sir?
No, can I have a minute, please?
Oh, he's going to need lots of minutes. He's got his readers back on, though. Let's catch up if we can. Look at us on real time.
Does that refresh your recollection about how you answered that question?
Yes.
And your answer was, it's possible that the phone picked up on the other end and nobody said anything. And then I terminated the call. That's the only thing.
Meaning it's possible it could have happened.
It's possible it could have happened that you had a 22-second call with Brian Albert,
I
correct?
did not have a 22-second call with Brian Albert. There was no conversation.
You've had some time to think about this 2:22 a.m. call, correct? Since that last testimony.
Some time to think about it?
Yeah.
I haven't really thought about it, no.
So for over a year, you haven't even considered the fact that you were caught with a phone record lying about not having a conversation with Brian Albert at 2:22 in the morning.
Objection.
Nothing wrong with that question.
Mr. Higgins, what was so important that you and Brian Albert needed to discuss something at 2:22 in the morning?
There was no discussion. I never talked to Brian Albert.
Was it
And
Nicole?
Why the 22-second phone call, sir?
Objection.
Sustained.
Was it Nicole? Wait a minute. Were you trying to bang Nicole too? When Karen wasn't giving it to you and Karen ghosted you, did you start texting with Nicole? Oh, I have questions.
I want to talk about what you did after you woke up on January 29th, 2022. That was obviously a memorable day in your mind, correct?
It was a sad day.
The very first person you spoke to after waking up was who?
Well, I believe I said I got the call from Chief Berkowitz.
That's not my question.
Say that again?
Who's the first person you spoke to on the phone that morning when you woke up?
Brian Albert.
Oh, so was the time on
Whose
the
idea
call
was
wrong?
it for you to drive to Brian Albert's house that morning?
It was my idea.
Was it important to you to speak with Brian Albert in person rather than over text or phone call?
No, it was important to support the people that were there.
So of course you drove over to his house, you had an opportunity to speak to him in person without any law enforcement presence, correct?
I was there with everybody, not just Brian Albert.
And Brian Albert was in the house and you were in the house, right?
That's correct.
Okay. It was important for him to support the people who were there. What about Karen? What about the girl that you were having this 9-day flirtation with that you really wanted to have a future with? It wasn't important for you to go support her. It was important for you to go over there and sit at 34 Fairview with those people who Brian Albert was the only person that you were really friends with. Right? Why weren't you trying to get a hold of Karen and trying to find Karen and support her, sir? Okay, now everything that he has said to me so far, everything that he's talked about today, all these flirty text messages and all the, him like trying to like get an answer out of her about their relationship and the future of their relationship is BS. Why didn't he go to her and support her? Okay, all right. Okay. Tell me what you think.
So you had access to him and others without any law enforcement there. Is that right?
That's correct.
As soon as you got off the phone with Brian Albert that morning, who did you call? At 7:22 a.m. if you were.
I think I might have called Chief Berkowitz back.
So as soon as you got off the phone with Brian Albert, first thing in the morning, the next call you made was to Chief Berkowitz. Is that
Yeah,
right?
yes, because he had called me first. Yes, I called him back.
Did you request from Chief Berkowitz any information that he may have had concerning the investigation surrounding John O'Keefe being found at 34 Fairview that morning?
No,
Were you trying to see how much law enforcement knew right away?
absolutely. I didn't even know what happened.
Were you trying to gather information about what happened so that you would know what happened?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Is that
No.
what you were trying to do?
No, Your Honor.
What did Chief Berkowitz tell you about his knowledge of John O'Keefe's body being found just after 6 a.m.?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been with John O'Keefe and you were at the crime scene the night before?
Objection.
Sustained. You can ask that differently.
Did you inform Chief Berkowitz that you had been with John O'Keefe the night before?
Objection.
I'll
I believe I may have told him at some point that I saw John at the waterfall.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been at 34 Fairview?
I believe I did.
Did you tell him that your vehicle was parked just feet away from where John's body was discovered?
No, because I didn't know where he was discovered.
Oh.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you and Brian Albert had had a call at 2:22 in the morning?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had been flirting with John O'Keefe's girlfriend in the weeks prior to his death?
No,
Mm.
Did you ever tell Chief Berkowitz about the nature of your interest in Miss Reed?
no, I don't believe so.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had seen Mr. O'Keefe and Miss Reed the night before and that Miss Reed had ignored you?
Objection.
Sustained. You can break that down, Mr. Jackson.
Thank you, Your Honor. If I may have just a moment.
Somebody said, why would he go to, somebody said, why would he go to Karen? She ghosted him, but he didn't think that she ghosted him. Remember? He's like, I wouldn't call it that. I wouldn't say that.
Chief Berkowitz, that you indicated just a second ago that when you indicated just a second ago that when I asked, did you tell Chief Berkowitz that your Jeep was parked just feet away from where John O'Keefe's body was found, you said, I had no idea where John O'Keefe's body was found, correct?
That's correct.
You just spoken with Brian Albert, right?
He said in front of the house.
All he said was John O'Keefe was found in front of the house. He didn't say right outside on my front lawn.
I believe he said he was found out in front of his house unresponsive.
Okay. If he was out in front of his house, then you would know, because your Jeep was also parked out in front of his house, that your Jeep would just be feet away from him, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Ooh.
Did you tell Chief Berkowitz that you had texted John O'Keefe to have him come over to 34 Fairview just hours before he was discovered dead in the yard?
No,
Did you think any of that was important when talking to the Chief of Police of the Canton Police Department?
I'll let him have it.
no, I didn't. There was no reason to tell him.
You've been an investigator for some 15 years and you were a firefighter for years before that, correct?
Yes,
You're very familiar with some of the tools that are used in conducting modern investigations, correct?
yes,
You'd agree that searching electronic devices and phones is an incredibly important investigative tool that modern investigators use, correct?
Objection.
In that form, I'll sustain it.
Are you aware that searching electronic devices is an important part of investigations?
Objection.
Are you aware of that, sir? Do you agree with that?
I've utilized phone data during the course of my investigations at times, yes.
That's not the question.
Okay, so another way to put that is obviously phone data and electronic data is an important part of investigation. right?
Objection.
Sustained.
Obviously.
What time do you believe you got to Brian Albert's house that morning after you received the phone calls and woke up? What time did you make your way back over to Brian Albert's house?
Maybe around 7:15 in that area.
Was there any law enforcement presence there when you arrived?
I can't recall specifically. There could have been one police car. I'm not positive.
Did any officer ever ask you to take a look at your vehicle?
At what time?
That time, but actually at any time.
No, not to my knowledge, nobody from law enforcement associated with the investigation had ever asked to take a look at my vehicle.
So they certainly didn't ask that day, correct? On the 20.
What I'm saying is, to my knowledge, nobody has ever asked me that.
Right. So that's my point. I'm just trying to break it down.
You're breaking. You want to tell me every instance when somebody could have asked me?
Correct.
Okay.
On the 29th, where you asked whether or not your vehicle could be searched.
Searched or inspected? What do you mean?
Either one.
Well, I would consider a search the inside of the vehicle more so than the outside. I would consider the outside more of an inspection. I would have been happy to show them it.
I'm sure you would have. I'm asking, did they ask?
No,
They didn't have to search it. They didn't have to inspect it.
no.
When you met with troopers, who was it that you met with on the 3rd of February?
Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan.
Did either Trooper Proctor or Trooper Buchanan ask to inspect your vehicle, otherwise search it?
Not to my recollection.
And to this day, nobody's from Massachusetts State Police has ever indicated that they want to inspect your vehicle.
No.
When you entered the house that morning, Brian Albert was there, Nicole Albert, Jen McCabe, Matt McCabe, Brian Albert Jr., and Julie Albert were all there. I'm sorry, had Julie Albert gotten there yet?
She came after me.
Okay, so at some point, all the people that I just ticked off, they were all inside the house,
Brian
right?
Albert Jr., Nicole, Brian, Matt, and Jen.
You all discussed the incident together, correct?
I wouldn't describe it that way, no.
Did each of you discuss your own perspectives about what had happened the night before in the early morning hours?
Objection.
I'll allow it.
People were in shock at the table, trying to figure out what happened. The math didn't make sense. John and the defendant never showed up. People were in shock.
Trying to figure out what to say, right?
No,
And you were all talking within earshot of each other, right?
we were all there in the kitchen talking together.
At this meeting, and these were friends and family, correct?
Excuse me?
These were friends and family amongst themselves, and you being a friend. These are friends and family inside that house discussing this incident, correct?
Yes.
So at this meeting, you actually instructed Jennifer McCabe to call Canton PD and ask someone to come back.
Objection.
Sustained is to that form. You can ask it differently.
At some point, did an officer come back to re-interview Jen McCabe?
Yes.
Yeah, at 9 a.m. Because did you all agree that maybe they didn't get in their report? Could I hit him? Did I hit him? Could I have hit him? And so Lank came back at 9 a.m. to take some additional statements from Jen McCabe, who now wanted to add to her statement from earlier. Did you help her decide to do that? Math ain't mathin'.
Jen McCabe had told you that she had information about something that Miss Reed had said, correct?
Objection.
I'll allow it. Did she tell you that morning?
She didn't specifically tell me anything. She made a statement at the table to the group of people and she clearly seemed like she was in shock. She was upset. And she made a statement, something to the effect that Karen had opined that she had hit John.
What she actually said was, I hope I didn't hit him, correct?
Objection.
It's not what I heard. No.
That'll stand.
Who did you ever tell this to?
I've reported that.
That she said, I hit him?
Yes, I've reported it.
Oh boy.
You-
Here we go again. Some phantom I hit him statements that he says that now Jen McCabe said. So now it's like double hearsay. He's going to say that Jen McCabe said, that Karen said, I hit him. And he's reported it many, many times. And of course, AJ has surgical precision with regard to cross-examination, is now going to pull out all of the times that he's testified before and all the statements that he's given. Oh, my freeze frame game is on point today, guys. Will you look at that? All of the times he did not say that Jen McCabe said that Karen said to Jen McCabe, I hit him. Is anybody confused? Is your head spinning? When did he report that? Never. How about the chances of him reporting that are slim and none? And Slim just got on the bus. He looks mean. He is mean. I think he is mean. He's insecure and he's a simp and he's mean. All of the above.
Reported was, Karen said, I hope I didn't hit him. And you said, oh, you need to tell Canton PD that. Isn't that right?
No, I don't think that's what I said. No.
You're sure about that as you are about that 222 call, right?
Objection.
I love it.
Mr. Higgins, what time did you leave Brian Albert's house?
It would have been, I believe, when Sergeant Lank arrived, and I think Lieutenant Gallagher might have been with him.
You weren't scheduled to work that Saturday, correct?
No.
Matter of fact, you weren't on duty at all.
No, I
right?
wasn't.
But you didn't go home and get some sleep or run errands. You went directly to Canton PD from 34 Fairview yet again, didn't you?
Who could sleep after somebody just was discovered like that?
Did you go home or did you?
I don't believe I did, no. I believe there might have been a stop at Canton PD before I went home.
As a matter of fact, you didn't just stop at Canton PD. You spent the entire day at Canton PD on the 29th, didn't you?
I don't know that I spent the entire day there, no.
Well, you've got a key card, right?
I do have a key card.
And that key card logs swipes.
That's correct.
So it logs where you go, access to, and access inside the
Yes.
Canton PD, correct?
Yes.
When you got to Canton PD, and you're telling this jury, you don't know how long you spent there.
I don't know how long I spent there. I don't know if I left and I came back. I don't recall.
So if the record
You don't recall that because you know there's records of that of when you swiped in, swiped out. Swiper keeps swiping at the Canton PD. But you know for a fact, as you sit here today, that Gemma Cabe told you that she heard Karen say, I hit him, I hit him, I hit him. Okay.
indicate that you were there from 9 a.m.-ish, after 5.
I don't know how the records would indicate that.
I'll show you in a second.
All the
Okay.
records are wrong.
While you were at Canton PD, did you speak again to Brian Albert?
I don't remember.
While you were at Canton PD, did you speak again to Chief Berkowitz?
Most likely.
While you were at Canton PD, did you speak with Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert?
I don't believe so.
Your Honor, may I approach briefly?
Please approach and give him like a little potch on the face,
Thank
a
you.
little potch on the butt that dials.
7-page document. Just take a glance. Obviously, don't read the whole thing. Just glance through it and tell me if you recognize what that is.
Readers are back.
So it says Canton Police, all events logged by day.
So don't read it out loud, please.
I'm sorry, Your
Just,
Honor.
do you recognize
Yes, I do.
it?
Okay. May I approach?
Yes.
This appears to be a log of key swipes in and around Canton PD, correct?
Yes.
And it's in reverse chronological order, in other words.
I didn't note that, but okay.
Okay. You acknowledge that that is a record of the key swipes that everybody uses moving in and around Canton PD, going through doors, every place that needs a key swipe is logged.
I would assume that's what that is, yes.
All right. It shows that you entered Canton PD for the first time on the 29th at 1:27 a.m. Does that sound about right? When you got there, you say to move your cars.
It's possible.
It shows that you were granted access to floor corridor 227. Does that mean anything to you?
No.
What about floor corridor 226 on the second floor?
Second floor would make sense because I went in the building and then to the second floor.
Let me have just a moment, Your Honor.
Sure.
What time the
I just want to take a quick minute to remind everyone that during the initial testimony, I think Officer Saroff was one of the first witnesses to testify. It was brought out during his cross-examination that the dispatch logs were all wrong. The times were wrong. The order in which the officers were arrived on scene were wrong. They were incorrect. And Officer Saroff said, yeah, well, it doesn't really matter. What was most important was that we had someone dispatched to the scene. So we've already been told that the Canton PD logs and dispatch records are just flat out wrong and nobody really cares. So this should be interesting.
By the way, did Brian Albert ever mention what time the officers cleared the scene?
No,
Without telling me the substance of the conversation, did he tell you when he talked to you at 7:20 or?
not that I recall, no.
But you remember by the time you got there, the scene had basically been cleared. There wasn't a bunch of emergency vehicles, crime scene tape, nothing like that.
I didn't see fire trucks. I might have saw a cruiser. I can't be sure. I don't recall.
You're not sure about that even.
Sorry, I'm
You're
not
not sure about even seeing a cruiser, correct?
100%, no.
Certainly were not contacted by a law enforcement officer who took your name and ID or anything like that.
No.
Parked and walked in the house.
Yes.
Scene was never secured. We know that. Couldn't find the crime scene tape.
I'd like to have that document marked as next in order Bates pages. It represents Bates pages 2850 to 3016.
All right, so marked for identification. Is there an agreement this is coming in, Mr. Lally?
There is not, no.
All right, so
Oh.
that's marked for identification, not next in order.
Wow, he's not being agreeable today. Gonna have to mark this.
From the bottom. And you take a look at the 8th entry from the bottom.
I see it.
Does that indicate that this all occurred on 1/29/22? This entry at least?
Well, I mean, I only, on that 8th entry, I see that's associated with my name. I don't know what the other ones are associated with.
Right. It would be other individuals in Canton PD. I mean, this is the entire log for 129, right?
Okay, but what all I'm saying is that just my name is next to that. I don't see any other names, so,
Right.
okay.
So on 1/29/2022, I'm just trying to orient you. At 127 and 52 seconds,
I see it.
access granted, Brian Higgins, rear entry to secure corridor, rear entry to secure corridor, correct?
Yes,
All right, so that appears to be what the log entry or the key swipe entry looks like when it's logged, correct?
yes.
If you look at page 2967, I'm sorry, I said it backwards, 2976.
Okay.
Take a look at.
So you said
time.
2976?
That's Bates page 2976. That's the bottom right-hand.
I
page.
see it, yes.
Look at the time entry for 9:23 and 39 seconds.
$923 and what?
39.
And that's on 2976?
Should be.
Give me the time again, please.
Why don't we do it this way? May I approach?
I
Yes.
don't recall.
Exact copy?
Yeah, this time's all over the place. My apologies.
I got no
Okay,
memory,
all right, thank you.
anything at all.
You got that in mind?
I do, I see it. It's highlighted.
At 9:23:39, that shows that you were granted access to the Sally Port to front exit, front entry to Sally Port, correct?
Yes,
There's only one Sally Port at Canton PD, correct?
yes, and there's a door on each side of the Sally Port.
Two
Yes,
bay doors, right?
2 bay doors on each side,
And
yes.
then there's a
Pass through,
personal pass-through door as well.
yes.
May I approach, Your Honor?
Yes.
Yep, one step beyond you. We're still getting
I'm gonna
higgy
try
with
to
it.
speed this up just a bit because it's small print, reverse chronological order. On page 2976, there's also an entry, same page, should be right above that, 92350, showing that you were granted access from booking to Sallyport as well, correct?
Okay, 2976, and what was the
Same
time?
page,
Yes,
it's about maybe 6 entries above, 6 entries up. You'll look for time 9:23 and 50 seconds.
I see. Yes,
All right, and that shows that you were granted access to the Sallyport and then from Sallyport to booking, correct?
says booking to Sallyport, Sallyport to booking.
Okay, so that's a key swipe. You either enter into the Sallyport from booking or from booking into the Sallyport.
Yes.
Could you repeat the question?
Of course, of course.
Sirens on point as always. They just did a little toot toot as they went by the courthouse, a little toot toot. Kind of like the way that he was honking his horn at Karen Reed, who he then called weed whacker because she was weed whacking, and gave him the finger until he pulled over and revealed himself. Said F you to him. Everyone says they're saying hi to Higgins. They're coming to take you away. Ha ha. This is American Dreamer.
That indicate I have. May I inquire, Your Honor?
Yes.
That indicate I have no idea what the last question was. I'll see if I can make a new one up. At 9:23 and 50 seconds in the morning, you were granted access booking to Sallyport and Sallyport to booking, meaning swiped the key card in the door going from booking to Sallyport.
Yes.
Okay. I don't want to belabor this because we could get bogged down into it all day long. Would you have any quarrel if those logs indicated that you were moving in and around Canton PD at 9:28, 9:53, 9:53, 9:54, 9:54, 11:40, et cetera? We can look at every one of them if you want to.
Well,
That doesn't refresh your recollection.
it would not be uncommon for me to move around Canton PD at various times or dates,
Right.
middle of the night, during the day. But just because I swiped in somewhere and then you have a swipe at the end of the day doesn't mean I was there the whole day. I could have left, I could have come back, and I truly don't have a recollection, but I'm pretty sure I wasn't there all day.
Fair enough. If we moved from 11:40 to 11:44, 11:45, 11:47, 11:51, 11:52, and then jump to 2:05, would that be an explanation where you might have gone out for lunch, 11:52?
Could have.
Okay, come back. If
Yes.
there's a 2:05 and 56 entry, then obviously you're there, right?
If the card was swiped, I was there.
I mean, you're not giving that card to anybody else.
No, I'm not.
No way, right? Let's just look at 2905 because I want you to be comfortable. Page 2905, and let's look at that 2:05 and 56 entry.
I'm at 2905. Where would you like me to look?
About right there. Basically middle of the page. May I approach? This might be a little easier. Highlighted it for you.
I see it.
Okay, so that would indicate that you were back at Canton PD at least 2:05:56, and you were granted access Sallyport to front door, correct?
That's what it says, yes.
Okay, At 3:10 p.m., you called Brian Albert's brother, Kevin Albert, correct?
I don't know.
Oh.
It's possible.
Okay. If,
I mean, I don't remember every phone call I made that day.
Understood. Do you remember talking to Kevin Albert?
I don't.
So you don't remember what you discussed with him?
No.
Do you remember that it was a 12-minute phone call?
No, I don't remember having any phone call, but I'm sure it's possible that we spoke.
Do you remember Kevin Albert providing you any information about the ongoing investigation into John O'Keefe's death?
No.
Did you ask him about additional information concerning John O'Keefe's death?
No.
Were you providing details back to Brian Albert that you were receiving while at Canton PD?
Absolutely not. No.
Do you recall that 2 minutes after you cleared the call with Kevin Albert, you then called Brian Albert?
It's possible.
So I think the question was, do you remember? Do you remember that?
Your Honor, there was a lot of phone calls made that day. It was an upsetting day. I spoke to multiple people at multiple times. I don't have a recollection. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and you know why? Because you destroyed your phone, you cracked the SIM card in half, and you threw it in the ocean at a military base in Cape Cod. But you absolutely recall that you did not speak to Brian Higgins around 2:22 in the morning. I mean, Brian Albert at 2:22 in the morning for 12 seconds or 22 seconds, during which time you couldn't possibly have had a conversation of substance. You absolutely remember that did not happen. But all of these other things, calls to Kevin Albert, who was a Canton police officer and brother of Brian Albert, could have happened, but you just don't remember. Pick a lane, dude.
May I approach briefly?
Yes.
That appears to be your phone record, correct?
Yes.
And it appears that you made a call at 3:10 for 12 minutes with Kevin Albert, correct?
Yes.
3:10 plus 12 was 3:22, correct?
Yes.
You had cleared the call about 3:22, is that right?
Yes.
And then it shows a 3:24 phone call to Brian. Brian Albert then calls you at 3:24, correct?
Yes.
And you two speak for 6 minutes, is that right?
6 minutes, 5 seconds. Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
Does that refresh your recollection that you made those calls?
I'm based on the record. Yes.
So these records are right, but the other records were wrong about the 22-second phone call at 2:22, 5 minutes before Jen McCabe was searching house locked to dying cold. Okay.
Was that just a coincidence that you were talking to Brian Albert and Kevin Albert within minutes of one another?
Yeah. I mean, there was a lot going on that day. People were upset. And I don't remember the phone calls. I don't deny making the phone calls. I just don't remember them.
Do you remember providing information that you were learning from Kevin Albert to Brian Albert?
Absolutely not.
I always tell the truth, he says, with authority.
And then may I, Your Honor?
Yes.
Kat Ray says that her grandfather was a judge in this courthouse
just
and his
below those
picture is
phone
still
calls,
hanging there. That's so
Kevin
cool.
Albert and Brian Albert, 2 additional phone calls that you had with Chief Berkowitz, and then Brian Albert again, correct?
Yes.
Mr. Higgins, it looks an awful lot like you're gleaning information from Canton PD. Were you doing that?
Objection.
So I sustain the objection in that form. You can ask one part of that question.
Sure. Were you getting any information from Canton PD?
No, I wasn't.
Did you provide any information to Brian Albert
No, I did not.
based on any conversations or conduct at Canton PD?
No.
Do you think that him looking Alan Jackson straight in the eye while he's giving these answers, like directly into his eyes, is making him more believable? Because I don't know, that strikes me as the first time that he's looking Alan Jackson directly in the eyes during his entire testimony. I'm just going to rewind that.
Were you getting any information from Canton PD?
No, I wasn't.
Did you provide any information to Brian Albert
No, I did not.
based on any conversations or conduct at Canton PD?
No.
May I approach?
Yes.
Yeah, way too intentional, Missy. I agree.
We were, in fact, on the phone with all of those interested parties throughout the day. You'll agree.
I was,
Answer that.
okay,
There's
yes,
no
Your Honor.
objection. You can answer it.
He was looking for the judge to object. Hold on, I'm rewinding it.
On the phone with all of those interested parties throughout the day. You'll agree.
I was,
Answer that.
okay,
There's
yes, Your
no
Honor.
objection. You can answer it.
I would, yes, they're friends and I was on the phone with them, yes.
And sir, you were not on duty that day, correct?
No,
You are not a Canton police officer, correct?
that's correct.
You were not assigned to this investigation in any formal capacity, were you?
I was not.
As a matter of fact, you're a witness in a homicide investigation. That's your only role in this, correct?
That's correct, but they're still my friends,
And
yes.
yet you're still having conversations with Kevin Albert at Canton PD while you're at Canton PD, correct?
Not about this.
And you're having conversations with Chief Berkowitz of Canton PD while you're at Canton PD, correct?
I had conversations with them, but not about this,
And
no.
you're consistently through the day calling Brian Albert, aren't you?
I had conversations with Brian Albert. John was found on his lawn. Yes, of course I had phone conversations with him.
You were just calling him to comfort him? You were calling for comfort? Really? Come on. Like Jen McCabe invited Brian Albert over when Proctor was coming to take her statement because she needed him to comfort her. So you're calling these people, they're your friends. You're calling all of them all day long, not talking about this investigation at all, just because you want to give them your moral support. Anybody buying what he's selling right now?
I want to take you back for a second to a couple of other entries, including one at 357, one at 358, and one at 407. I'm going to draw your attention to 2885 and 2886. Once you have the pages, I'll give you the times once again.
Another beep outside the courthouse.
2885?
2885 and 2886. We'll start with 2886 and then work backward.
Okay.
First entry is at 357 and 54 seconds.
More tooting. Toot toot.
357 and 54 seconds, I see it.
Brian Higgins booking to Sallyport, correct?
It says Brian Higgins, communication to pedestrian Sallyport, communication to pedestrian Sallyport.
Look at the one just above it. That's 358.24. Look at 357.54. Or the one, it probably is going to be just below it because it's reversed.
You said 357.54, correct?
Correct.
That's what I just,
Is he going to be in the Sallyport when Karen's car is towed there from Dighton? What time did Karen's car get to the Sallyport? No spoilers if you're ahead. I think we're in real time.
just read.
Got it. Look at 6 entries below at 357.36.
357.36. I see it. Access granted, Brian Higgins. Booking to Sallyport, Sallyport to booking.
Then there's one more on page 2885. Look for 407.47.
.407.47.
Correct.
I have it. Access granted, Brian Higgins, booking to Sallyport, booking to Sallyport.
And there's no record in that document of you exiting, correct? That's just booking to Sallyport.
Yes. I don't, yeah, there's no record. I don't know if it
That's all-
records you
that's all
going
that-
up.
you
That's
answered my
fine.
question. There's no record of it, correct?
Not that I can see here, no. I'm sorry.
And you're aware that that's about 90 minutes before Karen Reed's SUV was delivered to that Sallyport, correct?
No, I'm not aware of that.
You're aware that her car ended up in that Sallyport where you were at 5:36.
I'm aware her car ended up there, yes.
Are you aware that there was other evidence that was also being held in the Sallyport?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you see any other evidence in the Sallyport related to this case?
No.
Like a bag from Stop and Shop filled up with Solo cups with blood evidence in it next to the car in the Sallyport. If you know, you know. Her car was there at 5:36. There's no record of him ever leaving. Was he there when her car got there?
Did you see a bag, a grocery bag with 6 Solo cups there?
Objection.
Did you see anything that seemed out of the ordinary there?
All I would do is use that as a cut through. I did not see anything.
That's not the question, sir. It's a cut through. Trying to cut through some of your BS right now.
Are you aware that at 5, well, let me ask you this. You and Chief Berkowitz were moving in and through, at least in some parts of the day, in and through Canton PD together, correct?
At some points we might have been together. I'm not, I mean, we weren't together all day.
Matter of fact, he was also in the Sallyport around the same time you were, correct?
I don't recall that, no.
But the records would reflect that, right? The records that are in front of you?
Objection.
Sustained.
Berkowitz was there too?
You were in the Sallyport the last time you're logged into the Sallyport. It's 4:07. Do you remember seeing Chief Berkowitz at Sallyport at 4:14?
No, and if that says that I'm logged, that could be me cutting
Mr.
through.
Higgins, all I'm asking you, I'm not asking you what you did. I'm asking you where you were.
I don't know where I was at that specific time.
Well, you walked into the Sallyport. We know that,
If I walked in,
correct?
cutting through, yes.
Right. Was Chief Berkowitz in the Sallyport at 4:14?
Not that I recall, no.
Was he there at 4:30?
I don't remember ever seeing him in the Sallyport, no.
Was he there at 4:33?
I don't remember ever seeing Chief Berkowitz in the Sallyport.
At 4:50?
Objection.
Sustained. Let's move through this, please.
Finally, was he there at 5:36 and 37 seconds at the same time Karen Reed's vehicle was delivered?
I don't remember.
Oh, so you're not saying you weren't there. You just don't remember if he was there. Dun, dun, dun.
Do you remember Chief Berkowitz, or were you with Chief Berkowitz when he made a call to the front desk?
No, I don't remember anything like that, no.
Do you remember Chief Berkowitz calling the front desk at 5:42 and saying, shut the barracks?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you remember any kind of call shutting the barracks, meaning shutting the Sallyport?
Objection.
Do you remember that?
I don't remember anything like that, Your Honor.
Okay, next question.
You didn't leave Canton PD until close to 6 p.m., isn't that right?
I don't know what time I left.
Could it have been 5:50, 6 o'clock?
I don't recall what time I left.
You're aware that there's video surveillance feeds in the Sallyport garage, correct?
That's correct, yes. Around the building.
Were you in the Sallyport at 5:36 when the car was delivered?
I don't have any recollection of that, no.
It's one thing to say I don't remember. It's another thing to say, no, I was not there.
I don't remember being there, no.
Is it possible that you could have been there when that car was delivered?
I don't believe I was, no.
You don't believe you were? or
I
you
don't
weren't?
believe I was, no.
You're aware that the video surveillance feed from the Sallyport garage at or around 5:36, the precise time when the car was delivered, It's just missing.
Objection.
Sustained.
The video is missing. The video when the car showed up at 5:36 p.m. The video is missing. Of course it is. Of course it is. We knew that coming into this, but some of you might not have. Oh, look at his reaction. On point.
Did you receive a flurry of phone calls from Brian Albert and Chief Berkowitz indicating that some taillight pieces or a taillight piece had been recovered at 34 Fairview later that evening?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you receive a call at all, without telling me what the conversation consisted of, around 6:12 p.m. from Brian Albert?
I don't know what day you're referring to.
The 29th.
No, I don't remember any phone calls like that.
Do you remember 3 minutes later getting another call from Chief Berkowitz at 6:16 p.m. that lasted about 5 minutes and 15 seconds?
No.
May I approach?
Yes.
Smooth as butter, Courtney, we like to say. Let's see some smooth as butter
You look at the entries for
in
6:12,
chat.
6:16. See if that refreshes your recollection.
Are you referring to the,
6:12 and 6:16.
okay, I see those, yes.
There was a call at 6:12 that Brian Albert made to you for a duration of 1 minute and 7 seconds, correct?
Yes.
And right after that, there was a call from Chief Berkowitz to you at 6:16 that lasted 5 minutes and 15 seconds, correct?
Yes.
May I approach?
Yes.
They telling you that taillight pieces had been found at the location.
Objection.
Sustained.
Your Honor, may we approach briefly?
Okay.
Please. So he doesn't remember, he doesn't recall. If he was there at 5:36 when Karen's car was towed to the Sally Port and made it into the Sally Port, and there's video cams outside the Sally Port and inside. And coincidentally, there's video footage missing from the time when it was brought into the Sally Port, because presumably that would have shown her taillight coming into the Sally Port. And as such, because remember, the car was backed in, right? Because when we were looking at the car, the photos they showed in the Sally Port with the crime scene tape that they magically found, I think the car was backed into the Sally Port. So he doesn't remember he was there. He doesn't remember making phone calls at 6:12 and 6:16 to be told that the taillight pieces were then found magically on the lawn at 34 Fairview after something like 20 inches of snow had fallen. They were
So,
found.
may I inquire?
Yes.
Your testimony is that you don't recall the substance of those conversations at 6:12 and 6:16.
I don't know.
Isn't it true that you were asked about those phone calls at another hearing?
I might have been, I don't recall.
And did you testify at the other hearing that, in fact, what was discussed was the substance of the taillights being found at the location?
No, that's not what that was in reference to.
Here we go again. Don't worry.
Were you being
AJ's got it.
provided information from your friend, Chief Berkowitz, about the progress of the investigation?
No,
Were you providing your friend, Brian Albert, information about the progress of the investigation or what you perceived it to be?
no, I didn't have any information on the investigation.
May I have just a moment, Your Honor?
Sure.
It's on the hot seat for sure. Nancy says there'll be lots of Jamesons
You
consumed
were
this
not interviewed
Memorial
about
Day.
this case in any formal capacity until 5 days later, correct?
That sounds about right.
February 1st, Trooper Proctor?
I'm not exactly sure the date, but it was several days after, yes.
I'm sorry, I said February 1st, maybe it's
I don't-
February 3rd.
I don't know the date, but we were into February.
Where did that interview take place?
Sharon, Mass.
I'm sorry,
Sharon, Mass.
at what location?
Sorry?
What location?
Objection.
Why?
I'll see counsel very quickly at sidebar.
Does anybody know why this interview happened in Sharon on February 3rd? And they don't want to give up the location? Anybody know? Thoughts, concerns, ideas? I don't know. There's new information for me.
The interview was not at the police station.
It was not, no.
By the time you interviewed with Trooper Proctor, you had already had numerous conversations with Brian Albert. Is that safe to say?
Well, the interview was with both Trooper Proctor, Sergeant Buchanan, and of course, I've talked to Brian Albert because of what took
Mr.
place.
Higgins, that was a yes or no question.
Yeah, of course I've talked to him, yes.
Okay, and the answer is yes, right? Can we agree?
The answer is yes.
Thank you. By the time you spoke with Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan, you had already had numerous conversations with Chief Berkowitz, correct?
Yes,
You had already had numerous conversations with Kevin Albert.
yes,
You had already had this meeting with the Alberts and the McCabe's over at 34 Fairview. Is that right?
I went to the house.
And discussed this case, as you earlier described in your
I
testimony.
discussed what we were trying to figure out what happened.
You discussed this case, Mr. Higgins.
Well, at that point, it wasn't a case.
Okay, I'm not parsing words about what a case is versus a matter versus an issue. You understood my question, didn't you?
Yes.
Is there a reason you don't want to answer that question?
I don't have a problem.
Objection, Your Honor.
No, is there a reason, or why don't you go ahead and explain?
Well, I feel he's trying to make it sound like something it wasn't.
Oh,
It was,
I'm not trying to
it,
make it sound like anything, sir. I'm asking a question. Had you discussed this case or the issues surrounding this case with those folks?
I did discuss things when I went back to the house, yes.
And that was before you met with Trooper Proctor and Trooper Buchanan,
Yes,
correct?
that's correct.
You had already spent an enormous amount of time at Canton PD. We've just gone through those records. Is that right?
I have been at Canton PD, yes.
And you had been able to talk to, you had access at least to all the officers, correct?
What do you mean by, can you
Anybody that was coming and going at Canton PD,
access for what purpose?
just to walk by them, to hear what they were saying, see what they were doing.
Yeah, it's not what I was doing, no.
I'm not accusing you of doing anything. I'm saying you had access to the individuals within the Canton PD, correct?
To interact if needed, yes.
And very obviously, you had access to the Sally Port.
And access, yes, and that's a cut through I used all the time.
cut through. That's
And
all it
anything that
was.
was in it. Correct?
I wouldn't need anything in it.
It was only after all that that Michael Proctor thought that you were worthy of a conversation. I'll
Objection.
rephrase that. I'll
That you were
rephrase it. It was
worthy.
only after all of that that you were interviewed by Michael Proctor and Trooper Buchanan, correct?
I wasn't interviewed to the following days, that's correct.
Don't tell him that he's not worthy, AJ. You're going to rile him up. He already has insecurity issues. We know that. Oh, man. That was a way to push his buttons, though. You're not worthy. You weren't worthy of an interview till 5 days later. He said cut through, I believe, 3 times. 3 is the number. 3 is the magic number of apparently people who are not so truthful, according to some people. He wasn't worthy. Oh, let's see what happens. Let's see if his attitude changes now that he knows he's not worthy.
At some point on February 4th, Chief Berkowitz called you to personally inform you that he had personally found taillight at 34 Fairview. Is that right?
He did tell me that, yes.
And to be clear, that's the same Ken Berkowitz that you were with in the Sally Port.
I don't recall being in the Sally Port with him, no.
What did you do with that information when you learned from Chief Berkowitz that he personally saw a taillight piece as he drove by?
I didn't do anything with the information.
Did you call Brian Albert?
No, Brian Albert called me.
You were asked a specific question in the other proceeding in June of 2023, correct?
I don't know if it was the specific question. I was asked a series of questions on how the phone calls came in. That's what I was asked.
And your answer was, it's 100% probable that I told him about that. meaning I told Brian Albert about my conversation with Ken Berkowitz, correct?
It's possible.
Was that your statement or not?
It was my statement then, but I've thought about it, yes.
And you've changed your statement somehow?
I don't know if I changed my statement, but I think the way the phone calls came in is Brian Albert told me, you're not going to believe what was found on the front lawn. And then I believe Ken Berkowitz told me he found the taillight, and I'm referring to the taillight from the both of them. I didn't provide any information to anybody.
Well,
Information was provided to me.
what you actually said was it's 100% probable that I told him about that. Yes, 100%. I'm not hiding that fact, but you're asking me if I recollect specifically. I know I called him after that
Objection, Your
phone
Honor.
call.
All right, so too many facts. Go slowly.
Sure. You
Too many
said,
facts.
yes, yes, 100%, correct?
In that testimony, I did, yes.
And then in that testimony, you went on to say, I'm not hiding that fact, but you're asking me if I recollect specifically, correct?
I don't have it in front of me. That's what you're telling me.
You went on to say, I know I called him after that phone call, correct?
I don't know.
And you went on to say, if that's when Chief Berkowitz told me listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this, end quote. That was your statement
Objection.
prior hearing, correct?
So I'm going to strike the end.
That was stricken. Listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this. Okay.
Yes.
You said you don't recall that entire testimony, right?
Not that portion. I know I was asked about how the phone calls came in and what was said.
Do you think it would refresh your recollection to see a transcript of your answer?
Is this it right here?
That's it.
I'm going to read it.
Too many facts. All right. I'm going to read it. Oh, you better. It's like hundreds of pages, I'm sure.
May I?
Yes.
Thank you. Does that refresh your recollection to what your testimony was under oath in June of 2023?
I do.
And you said, if that's what Chief Berkowitz told me, I didn't do anything wrong in this, correct?
That was the statement I made, yes.
Why even say that? Right. Right, G-Lynn?
Why did you say, listen, I didn't do anything wrong in this?
Objection.
Why'd you say that?
Because I felt they were being accusatory, and I was trying to explain what was going on. And what I had said over that was, I believe what I said, something to the effect, I can't be 100% positive. And then when I went on to say, it's probable. But I felt like they were being accusatory, and I was trying to explain how the phone calls came in. I've had time to reflect about it after that, since that testimony. And both that information about the taillight that was found was provided by each person. I didn't provide any information to anybody.
Next question.
He's had time to think about it. Now he's going to change his testimony. And he thought they were being accusatory of him. And he was not going to sit there and be accused. How dare someone accuse him, an ATF federal agent, of doing anything wrong? I didn't do anything wrong in this, and my feelings were hurt, and I felt that they were being accusatory, the FBI, during this federal grand jury that we can't say is a federal grand jury, but it was in June of 2023, so we know it was a federal grand jury. They were hurting his feelings by accusing him. Okay, he accuses other people for a living. Okay, really? Or were his feelings hurt? But now he's had time to reflect and think on it. And now he's decided that he didn't provide anybody with any information. He just took in the information. He didn't give out the information. He just took in the information. That's what he's going to say now, right? The feds are being mean to me. Wow, wow, wow. They're picking on me. They're picking on me. Stop breathing my air. Stop looking out my window. Mommy, mommy, mommy. Wow.
Thank you. You said, look, I didn't do anything wrong in this because it looks like you and Ken Berkowitz were colluding to provide information to Brian Albert, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct?
Absolutely not correct. That's
And
wrong.
you knew that was going to look like collusion, which is why you said, look, I didn't do anything wrong in this.
Objection.
Objection sustained.
Mr. Higgins, if you wanted to get rid of, and you've dealt with cell phones and electronic devices in your career many, many times, correct?
Over my career, yes.
You've probably even written search warrants for them, things of that nature, right?
Yes.
If you wanted to destroy evidence on your cell phone, what kind of steps might you take to do that?
Objection.
If you wanted to just get rid of information on your cell phone that would be unrecoverable, what steps might you take?
Objection.
Sustained.
Do you know how to get rid of information on your cell phone?
Objection.
That's allowed.
That's allowed.
You can answer that.
Do I know how to get rid of information? I mean, I think there's different ways. You could wipe your phone.
Anything else?
You could wipe your phone.
Good. Take out-
Factory reset.
Factory reset might be one, wiping your phone, taking the SIM card out.
I don't know that the SIM card's going to take information that's on the phone out.
So that might be one avenue. You could break the SIM card in half or
It
snap it.
It
correct?
could, yes.
You know, the SIM card stores an enormous amount of data that the phone's just a brick.
No, I don't know that.
Okay. You could also, if you take the SIM card out, you just get rid of the phone somehow, right? Just destroy it.
Yes.
Might even consult with some kind of an expert to help learn how to permanently erase things from a phone, like a forensics expert, for instance.
Objection.
Sustained.
On Saturday, January 29th, you spent much of the morning rather, at Brian Albert's house, and then the rest of the day variously at Canton PD. You would agree with that, correct?
No, you said I spent much of the morning at Brian Albert's house?
Correct. In other words, you went over there at whatever it was, 7:50, 8 o'clock, something like that, and then until about 9 o'clock.
No, I got over there around 7 o'clock and I was there less than an hour. I wasn't there most of the day.
Okay,
I never
fair enough.
went back there.
So you spent time at Brian Albert's house, then much of the rest of the day at Canton PD, correct?
Yes.
And then the very next day, that Sunday, you called a friend of yours, a guy named Matt Kelch, didn't you?
Yeah, he's my best friend.
And
Yes.
he's a special agent with the FBI, isn't he?
No, he's not.
Was he then?
He's never been a special agent with FBI. He's a special agent with ATF.
My mistake. I thought he was with the FBI. He's a
He-
federal special agent,
He's a coworker of mine. Yes.
which makes him a federal special agent, right?
An ATF agent. Yes.
And he's your best friend. Again, we're in middle school. He's my best friend. Guys, do you call anybody your best friend at the age of like 40 or 50 something? Are you still talking to, referring to guys as your best friend?
Does he work for or have access to the Regional Computer Forensics Lab?
Yes, he works over there.
Okay, that's the FBI Regional Computer Forensics Lab, correct?
Yes.
That's how I got my mistake. I apologize.
Well, I just want to make sure the record's reflected correctly.
You and me both. So you reflected it correctly. So Matt Kelch is an ATF agent who works at the FBI Regional Computer Forensics Lab, correct?
Yes.
And he's an expert in digital forensics, is he not?
He has a level of expertise more than myself.
And
Yes.
he's one of your best friends.
He is my best friend.
You spoke to him about the death of John O'Keefe, did you not?
Yes.
And you asked him for a personal favor, sort of off the books, correct?
Objection.
In that form, I'll sustain it.
Did you ask him for a personal favor?
No.
Did you ask him to show you or consult with you how to pull things off of your phone that you decide to get off your phone?
I asked him how I could pull text strings off my cellular telephone for the purpose of providing them to law enforcement.
Cellular
not
telephone.
In connection with any case that he was working, correct?
That's correct.
It was not in connection with any case you were working, correct?
Objection.
Objection sustained, but you already answered. I'll strike that answer. Second question you can answer. Is this in connection to any case you?
No, Your Honor.
Next question.
But you asked your friend to utilize his resources to teach you how to extract certain information off your phone? Is that what you did?
I asked him if it was possible to get this off, if there was a method to get this off my phone so I could provide it to law enforcement.
And that information was selected by you, correct?
Two particular text threads, yes.
Right. In other words, there was nobody else that was picking and choosing what to get off your phone. That was just you.
It was me, yes.
And the reason you did that, Mr. Higgins, is that you wanted to control and limit the amount of information that was pulled off your phone, right?
Objection.
Is that why you did it?
No, I did it because I wanted to provide it to law enforcement, Your Honor.
Okay,
Don't-
next question.
But you could have just provided your phone to law enforcement and let them image the entire thing, correct?
I guess that was an option, yes.
And you knew that was an option at the time. And you're a trained ATF agent.
What's the question?
You knew it was an option to just hand your phone over. Just
And-
pick it up and give it to them.
And there was also an option to provide it to them as well.
Right. But you chose the one that you got to select the information, not the one where they would get everything, correct?
Objection.
Changes to that form.
Did you actually go to the FBI computer forensics lab?
Yes. Let me correct that. I didn't go to the lab itself. I
Nope.
went to a kiosk, what they refer to as a kiosk on the first floor over at FBI.
Okay.
And all local PDs, law enforcement have access to that.
and that's obviously,
It's an unrestricted area. You can be in there, as I understand it, unaccompanied if you're local law enforcement. It's on the first floor.
Now he's worried about where he can be and where he can't be. Because, he only uses Sally Port for a cut through. And he's only using his bestie, Matt Kelch, to extract some records for him using federal. But now he's very certain to point out that he was allowed to be at the forensic kiosk. It was okay for him to be there.
that is a federal facility, however.
Yes, it is.
Did you utilize any computer or any data extraction machinery, if you will, a computer or something to extract this data?
Well, it was a machine. I don't know what it's called.
Okay, fair enough. I'll use the word machine. I don't know what it's called either. So you hooked that phone up to a machine, correct?
Yes,
And that machine belonged to the FBI. It didn't belong to you. Is that right?
that's correct.
So that was a federal resource, not for anything having to do with any official case that you were working. Isn't that right?
Objection.
So I need to see you. I know this is not consent, but I need to see you.
I need to see you. She says, I need to see you. She needs to see them. See everyone. What are you going to do now, Auntie Bev? Sending the jury out. Everybody's standing up. Is he going to have to come back on Tuesday? See you next Tuesday. Fry. Thank you, Jay Hendricks. for
While
the
we're doing that,
super-
council, come on back. Yes.
Thanks, Mozzie says, how do we know someone hasn't gotten to the jurors? We hence the heat spell. I don't trust anyone in that courthouse. I think we covered that before. Thank you. Thank you so much. We Heart Entertainment. Thank you for the 5. Why didn't he try to reach Karen that morning? No one knew she was a suspect at that point, right? And according to his own testimony, he says that he didn't think he was being ghosted. So why wouldn't he comfort her instead of comforting the Alberts? That makes no sense to me either. I am outraged. Rocka Frocka, thanks for the 5. 2:22 a.m. call contents. Brian, I've been trying to reach you about your car's extended warranty. That was really funny. Put it up earlier. Sometimes we have to laugh, you guys. Otherwise, we're just going to cry. We're just going to cry about this kangaroo court of a case, which is really being complimentary. Calling it a kangaroo court at this point, circus, however you want to refer to it. It's an absolute shanda, as we say in New York. It's a shanda. Dr. Latina, thank you for the 20. A retired female FBI recently stated that Yannetti declared from courthouse steps last year that Karen Reed didn't intend to kill John O'Keefe with her car. She claims that statement is, quote, proof of Karen Reed's admission of guilt. Thoughts? My thoughts are that he had just been retained, that both he and his client were told that there was ring camera footage of the incident. And that's what I think his statements on the courthouse steps meant. I don't take that to mean proof of guilt. I believe that very shortly thereafter, I forget what date those statements were made. Very shortly thereafter, a witness came to Yannetti, because that was her attorney at the time. He's a local Boston attorney, and told them something that turned into the defense theory of what happened in the house with regard to a third-party culprit. I don't think his statements can be imputed to his client with regard to proof of guilt. And, they were told there was Ring doorbell footage of the incident. It's all over CBS or whatever that News 4 is. News 4, the one that went into to D&E to eat. So I don't think that's proof of her admission of guilt because I just don't.
Thank you. I was trying to figure out how we do
I don't
that.
know. Is that in reference to the key swipes? Yeah, I don't know.
Somebody said, is that in reference to the key swipes? Keith, thank you, says Melanie, I'm from Mass, but not Canton. Please let the viewers know citizens have vetoed to audit the Canton police. Video of town meetings are online with CA. Thank you. Maybe we're going to get some argument. Lala says, Mel, does he think we believe him?
We may as well use this time with me asking counsel a question at sidebar.
I don't know. May as well use the time. Are they going to do a proffer now? What are they going to do? What are they doing? A voir dire? Husky Lover 148. Thanks for the 20. So generous of you. Amazes me how they all have forgotten how to use their phones. These lies are maddening. Oh, and Melanie, you rock. Thank you. Thanks, Husky Lover. I appreciate you. Kathy, thank you for the super chat. If I was on the jury, I'd be infuriated right now that the Commonwealth is wasting my time with this trial. Gosh, I hope they don't feel that way, but I don't know. I don't know what they're thinking. I'd love to be a fly on the wall when it comes to deliberations, but Rubicon, thanks for the 20, so generous. Butt dialing Higgins. Thank you, Rubicon. Christy, thanks for your super chat. That's it. I'm canceling my direct TV. I'll just watch YouTube. Yep, for S's and giggles and save money. Listen, Christy, once you come over to YouTube, you don't go back. And it's weird. I never knew about this whole thing either, but when you start to find creators that you like who do live shows, it's like you're hanging out with your friends all day. It's like, oh, who's going to be live today? I'll go hang out there. I'll go hang out there. You get to know people in the chats. And I want to know, just maybe a show of hands in the chat, how many of you in the chat only watch YouTube and not cable anymore? Just say me if you are one of those people who does not watch cable anymore and you only watch YouTube.
Counsel, why don't you come on over, please? Mr. Conley, client, if you just go and just stand next to your client, Mr. Jackson's going to make an offer of proof of a question he's about to ask your client, or a couple of questions he's about to ask your client. Doesn't make any sense to me that somebody has counsel and the counsel is not aware of a potential issue. So you'll hear the offer of proof. I'll let you speak to Mr. Higgins before this actually happens before the jury.
Could I just?
Higgy's attorney is in the house for this offer of proof. The jury is not there.
Yes, I was just going to ask you to identify yourself.
Sure, my name is William Connolly, spelled CONNOLLY.
All right.
May I, Your Honor?
Yes.
The witness has indicated that he utilized federal resources for personal gain. The specifics of that testimony have been as follows. He indicated that he contacted Matt Kelch, a federal agent. He indicated that he utilized a federal facility. He called it an unsecure facility, but it's a federal facility notwithstanding. And that the two of them, he and Agent Kelch, utilized federal resources in the form of some kind of a machine, as the witness indicated, for his own personal gain, so that he could, as a witness, in no official capacity, working any official case, and in Matt Kelch's capacity as an individual rather than an agent, they both work together to download certain information from the witness's phone in anticipation of turning that highly selected, highly curated information over to law enforcement so that he could later ultimately destroy his phone, which this witness in fact did.
Okay, so it's not entire. I disagree with you. I don't think it's reached that level.
What?
His testimony was that he went to a kiosk on the first floor where all local police departments can go. It's unrestricted. It's on the first floor. And we just got to the part about a machine in the kiosk when you mentioned an FBI resource. So what is your question? What questions do you intend to ask this witness now?
whether he is aware that under 5 CFR 2635.702, it is a federal offense to use his public office, to use any public office for his own private gain or for the gain of persons or organizations with which you are associated personally. In other words, an FBI agent or an ATF agent cannot use federal resources for personal gain. The fact that he contacted an ATF agent, the fact that he utilized a facility that is owned by the federal government, run by the federal government, paid for by taxpayer dollars, and the fact that he used a machine that is owned by the federal government to download certain information for his own personal gain, that personal gain being, these are the curated texts that I'm going to turn over to law enforcement, that's a federal offense.
All right, so those questions are going to be asked. I don't know, there's been an objection to them. I'm not sure I'm going to let them in. But I wanted to give you the opportunity to speak privately with your client in the back room there. Can you do it in short order? Or do you need
I
more
can
time?
do it in about 10 seconds.
Okay,
Sure.
all right.
If you feel the need.
So why don't you go back and talk to him? I'll stop bringing the jury or getting the jury lined up to come back.
Thank
Okay.
you, Your Honor.
But she says she doesn't know she's going to let it in. The fact that he committed a federal crime. He committed a federal crime by using federal resources or asking his bestie, Maddie Kelch, to use federal resources for his own personal gain, to extract those text messages from his phone. He's now been permitted to consult with his attorney. Someone said, what is an offer of proof? That's exactly what it is. They take the jury out. They offer the proof that they want the judge to let into evidence. And she just said, I don't know if I'm going to let it in, but go get the jury and go talk to your client in the hallway. So we'll see what happens. Standing, so I guess that means
Take him
leaving.
about 2 minutes to get here, so, yeah.
Oh, he said, I appreciate your optimism, but it's going to take them about 2 minutes to get here. But notice Paul O'Keefe standing and sort of lurking over Karen, which I don't like, but they didn't ask me.
That under 5 CFR
Yeah.
was hooked up to some.
Here we go.
All right. We have a very few minutes left, Mr. Jackson.
Understood. Mr. Higgins, you indicated that the phone was hooked up to some sort of machine at the FBI kiosk, correct?
Yes,
You're aware, sir, that under 5 CFR 2635.702, you may not use your public office for your own personal or private gain or for the gain of persons or organizations with which you are associated personally under pain of a federal offense, correct?
Objection.
no, Your Honor.
Are you aware that under 5 CFR 2634.704, it's a felony to quote?
Objection, Your Honor, as to
for, quote, an
reading.
employee-
Go ahead and finish the question.
For an employee, an employee has a duty to preserve and conserve government property and shall not use such property or allow its use for other than authorized purposes. Were you aware of that federal regulation?
That objection sustained.
Sir, notwithstanding those regulations, you utilized the services of Matt Kelch as a friend and a colleague, but utilizing federal resources to pull information off your phone, correct?
Objection.
Sustained as to that form.
In fact, you were successful in getting information off your phone, which is the text that you turn over to the Commonwealth, correct?
Objection.
In that form, you're almost there, Mr. Jackson.
Thanks for the hint, Judge.
That form was improper.
The information that was ultimately pulled off your phone was the information that you selected and you and Matt Kelch worked together to get off your phone, correct?
Objection.
Is that correct?
No, Your Honor, if I could explain.
Sure.
He walked me through on how I could pull the text string with John O'Keefe and the defendant. He walked me through the process, how to use the machine.
And then you did that.
I did do that. That's
Oh.
That's
correct.
what you turned over to the police.
That's correct.
And any other information would still be on your phone ending in 5421, correct?
Well, that information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State
Right,
Police.
so where's your phone?
I do not have that phone anymore.
You've destroyed that phone, haven't you?
No, I threw the phone away.
Well, that's destroying the phone,
Same
isn't it?
thing.
I had every right to do that.
Really?
I didn't ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
There was a preservation order by the court to preserve your phone. You did not have every right to do that. Just like you didn't have every right to march yourself into the FBI, have your best friend teach you how to use the machine to pull your personal text messages, all the stuff that you felt like selectively turning over, which we now know is a felony, sir. You do not have every right to do that. This is mind-numbing. This is mind-numbing. And the arrogance with which he is sitting there, admitting to a felony and saying, I had every right to do that. There was a preservation order. Wow. Now he's arrogant. He gets all sappy and sad when he's ghosted by Karen talking about the text messages, how he's pining away for her. But this arrogance, this felony, he's arrogant and he's sitting here saying that he had every right to do that. Wow, I am outraged. Are you outraged? I need to take that back a second because I may need to write the statute down and look it up later. But wow, the righteous indignation that this man is showing the jurors, because the jurors are back now. And now he's taken his friend Matt Kelch out from under the bus and saying, oh, he just told me how to do it and I'm the one who used the machine. Notice that?
Walked me through. No, Your Honor, if I could explain.
Sure.
Sure, explain.
He walked me through on how I could pull the text string with John O'Keefe and the defendant. He walked me through the process, how to use the machine.
Mhm.
And then you did that.
I did do that. That's
And
correct.
That's what you turned over to the police.
That's correct.
And any other information would still be on your phone ending in 5421, correct?
Well, that information stayed on my phone. I just took those strings off and provided them to the Mass State
Right,
Police.
so where's your phone?
I do not have that phone anymore.
You've destroyed that phone, haven't you?
No, I threw the phone away.
Throw it away.
Well,
Didn't
that's
destroy it.
destroying the phone, isn't it?
I had every right to do that.
Right to do
I didn't
that.
ask you about your rights. I asked you what you did.
Objection.
Sustained.
You destroyed the phone by removing the SIM card. Half, correct?
Objection.
Sustained.
Did you do that? Did you pull the SIM card out?
Objection.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone?
Your Honor, to the best of my recollection, if I did take the SIM card out, I would when I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I would break it or cut it. But I did not wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away, that's what I would have done.
Because you've done it before? You've destroyed your phones before, and that's what you would have done was break or crack the SIM card? Yeah, Brian Albert destroyed his phone as well. But, he just got rid of it. He just threw it away. He didn't destroy it in his mind. It's not the same thing. And now he's trying to explain himself to the judge instead of looking at the jury. So let's listen to that again. What I would do is crack my SIM card or take it out. I didn't wipe anything. I just took out the SIM card. But, it's not the same thing. Semantics, right?
When I threw it away, if I was going to take it out, I would break it or cut it. But I did not wipe the phone. I did not take anything else off it. But if I was going to throw the phone away, that's what I would have done.
Okay.
You know, as an ATF agent with electronic data experience, when you pull the SIM card out and break it, and then throw the phone away and the SIM card away, you don't need to wipe the phone.
Objection.
Sustained. Mr. Jackson, that's it.
Your Honor,
No, it's not it.
One more question.
No, what? Don't handcuff the defense.
I can do this in 30 seconds. I think. You were aware that there was a court order that you not alter, delete, or destroy, or in any way manipulate your phone or the electronic data associated with it, correct?
Objection.
As to what date?
As of
February 1st, 2022.
September 23rd.
Okay.
I'm sorry, September 30th, 2022.
Objection. I don't believe that's what the court order was. I think it's
Your Honor, I
was,
can make a quick offer of proof. That's exactly what it was that he was notified.
Lally, did you not notify these people to not did you not serve them with the preservation order? Is that on you, sir?
What's the question exactly, Your Honor? I'm sorry.
Ask the question again.
Sure. Were you served with a copy of a notice on September 30th, 2022, that you not alter or destroy or manipulate anything on your phone on September 30th?
I was served an order. Yes, that's correct.
And isn't it true, in another hearing, you explained that on September 29th, the day before you claim you got that notice, you changed phone carriers and changed phone numbers
And I maintained the phone.
until you didn't, when you destroyed it a month later by pulling the SIM card out and throwing it away, correct?
objection,
Sustain.
Did you do that in October? Did you destroy that phone?
objection,
Sustained.
Did you pull the SIM card out of your phone, Mr. Higgins?
He's laughing like it's funny.
Did you?
It's possible that I did. I believe that's how I've testified.
You,
Yes.
you
It's,
testified
it's
at a previous-
possible that if I took it out, that it was either cut or broken.
It's not just
So
possible.
that,
And that would have been after the date the order was already denied.
Mr. Higgins, I have one question left. One question. Did you, Mr. Lally's already standing. I haven't even started.
Yeah. Sit
have
down,
a seat,
Lally.
Mr. Lally. Go ahead. Last question, Mr.
She told him to
Jackson.
take a seat.
Quiet, please, quiet.
Mr. Higgins, very simply, and then we're done. Did you remove the SIM card for that phone, drive onto a military base, throw the SIM card in one dumpster and the phone in a different dumpster?
That is not correct.
Did you testify that?
Was your one question, Mr. Jackson?
Stop it. We're not. What is this?
All right.
Preschool?
Folks, that's it for today. We will see you Tuesday. Have a great long weekend, please. It's very important to not discuss this case with anyone. Don't do any independent research or investigation into this case. If you happen to see, hear, or read anything about this case, please disregard it and let us know. We will see you on Tuesday. Tuesday will be a full day.
Sure, leave your notebook on the chair, all rise.
You have to come back Tuesday.
She said you do have to come back on Tuesday. Wait.
You have to come back.
Yep.
You have to come back Tuesday.
She's telling the witness. You do have to come back on Tuesday.
Goodbye.
See you next Tuesday, Brian Hickey. And is that it? Are we just going to get shut out?
You can follow them, yes. All right, so I will see counsel at sidebar. Tori? We're done with that.
Yes, he has to come back, Tara. Yeah, the jury has something interesting to think about for 3 days because they're not coming back. Tuesday is the only day of court next week, and I don't know if she's decided if it's going to be a full day or not. I don't know if this is going to just cut off and say,
Madam Court Reporter. Madam Court Reporter, thank you very much. All right. Thank you, everybody.
All rise for the court, please.
it's going to be a full day, somebody said? Full day Tuesday? Okay, Mr. Hickey, getting Hickey. We got Hickey with it today. Do not pass go. Do not collect $200. You have committed a federal crime, everyone. And considering that it was also perhaps done on federal property, could be a bigger problem for him. So it will be a full day on Tuesday, the only day of court next week. And that was the fireworks. The federal crime, the felony committed by Brian Higgins using his best friend, Matt Kelch, who also is a federal agent, to show him how to use the special machine with which he did use to extract his text messages between him and John O'Keefe and him and Karen Reed, and then destroying his phone, cracking his SIM card on a federal base or military base in Cape Cod a month after being served with the preservation order. He tried to squeak in there that it was denied. So he doesn't think he did anything wrong. Shocker. Terry Raven, thank you so much. Says, thank you for all your answers and explanations. They're amazing. And so are the mods. The mods are amazing. Thank you. Everybody give a big round of applause to the mods today. It's been 2 streams today. It's been a long day. Susan Agnello, thank you. I knew that Higgins played a major part in all this. What a loser. Trying to get back to Karen for not succumbing to him. Yeah. Ew, ick, everyone. I need a shower. I'm sure you do too. True Crime with Stephanie Michelle. $50. What? Thank you so much. You're so generous. I pray Karen Reed owns the state of Massachusetts after this shit show. I have no words. I'm rarely speechless, but I think I'm speechless now. We knew this was coming because we kind of knew this was happening. I guess we can assume that this is what the whole federal proffer was about, but he kept denying everything too. I'm so confused. Ben, thank you for the 10. He threw away his phone, so he destroyed evidence he knew he was not supposed to by court order. He also committed a federal offense. Any one of us would be in jail. Yes, we would. He's on desk duty, and I think that's about the worst thing he's facing right now. Linda Vergata, thanks for the 10. Will AJ continue questioning Higgins on Tuesday? I think so. He's not done with his cross. She only allowed him one more question for today under her rules, because the rules change every day in the courtroom of Justice Beverly Cannoni. They just do. Norfolk Superior Court in Dedham, Mass. Lizzie Dalton, thank you so much for your $20 super sticker. You're amazing. EB said an ATF agent wiped out his phone with FBI equipment while he was a witness in a murder investigation. What a case. What a case. You could not make this up if you tried. The writer's room in Hollywood, writer's rooms, you don't even have to do much. You just have to transcribe this court proceeding word for word, and you could write a script. Christina, thank you so much, says for the Venmo, says thanks for your commentary and hard work. Thank you so much for that. You guys are really super generous on this case. Thank you, Stephanie, for buying me a matcha latte and for thanking me for covering this and saying I would be lost in the land of butt dials without you. This is insane, you guys. This is nuts. Tell me what your craziest part was from today in the comments or in the chat. And we'll come back for a second. Thank you, David. Modest Man on YouTube says, hope this will save you some silly YouTube fees and love the content. Thank you. Thank you for David, Modest Man, for loving the content. You are so modest. And for Liborio, thank you so much. Says, thank you. I love listening in memory of Chloe. Thank you so much for your Venmo donation in memory of Chloe. Yeah, we don't know. Apparently they say Chloe is in Vermont, and Nicole Albert seems to know exactly where she is. There's so much in this case that does not make sense at all. I can't imagine how the jury's feeling right now. Alyssa, thank you so much for the Venmo. Says, thanks for your great coverage on this case. Free Karen Reed. Thank you so very much. What do you think is the craziest part of the day so far? Do you think that we could have made this up? Dana Zulek, thank you so much for the 10. I'm surprised those texts are admissible if acquired while a felony is being committed. But I mean, who's to say that he didn't just cherry pick, to use one of the terms from the trial that we've gathered so far, cherry pick the text that he wanted to give them. And there could have been other texts that he did not give them. It's sus. The whole thing is sus. Alex, thank you so much for the 10. Nice Karen Reed court coverage. Great to discover you. Thank you. Thank you to all of you who discovered me today, because I think Emily was not streaming today. So if you came over because Emily wasn't live, welcome. Welcome. Usually I have a way better mic. My mic broke at the beginning of the day. So it's usually better audio, but it is what it is today. And we just kind of go with the flow. That's what we do here. We go with the flow. Thank you, Criminal Med. Appreciate you mods and chat. My moderators are the best on YouTube. Thank you so much for keeping it classy. Thank you, Sharon, for the super sticker. And Tara, how did they all know the preservation order was coming? How did they all know it was coming? How did we know? We knew because we knew from pretrial motions that this had happened. And we knew. Appreciating you, mods and chats. Thank you. And also, witnesses in criminal cases, especially murder trials, are always told to preserve their evidence. I mean, that's just a matter of course, you know, because these things are oftentimes requested and and need to be turned over. So, I don't know. Insane. Spicy Tower, free Karen Reed, fine Chloe. Then again, poor Chloe is probably better off in Vermont, far away from the Alberts. I don't think Chloe is responsible, but I love dogs, so maybe biased. All right. All I can say is let's go Rangers. Let's go Rangers. Yeah, that first game kind of sucked. It was a bad loss, but they're playing tonight, right? Hope so. Yeah, the game is tonight, right? At 8. Let's go Rangers. I'm sorry, Bruins fans, that you guys are out, but can you root for the Rangers now? Probably not. Probably not, but it's okay. I love you guys anyway. To the moderators, thank you so much for being here. I love each and every one of you so very much. If everyone could please hit the like button, it really helps the algorithm and helps push the stream out. This topic is one that is a little bit sometimes worrisome for YouTube, and they kind of sometimes may shadow ban it and don't let it out. So if you help the algorithm by hitting the like button, I would appreciate it. Subscribe, ring the bell, all of those good things that we love to do. And remember, my friends, I will see you Tuesday for the trial, but also probably before then on some other things and topics and wrap-ups. And who knows, I might be a guest on someone else's show. So pay attention. Have an amazing Memorial Day weekend. And remember, as I always say at the end of the stream, be cool, be kind, be classy. It's not hard, my friends. It is really so not hard. Peace out. I'll see you real soon.